Hello and welcome to Monza, the Temple of Speed, for round 5 of Endurance for Amateurs. I'm joined here tonight by Zachary Purcell. He's going to commentate with me over this 100 minutes of racing. How are you doing, Zach?
Oh, I'm doing great. This is a really fun racetrack. It's simple, but we should be able to see a lot of racing.
We definitely should. We have almost, 30 cars tonight? Not a bad number at all.
Yeah, this is one that it's a relatively short lap because there's so much on throttle. So we should be able to see a lot of cars next to each other, and 30 is a good field.
30 is definitely a good field. One of the bigger fields we've ever had this season, especially with the broadcast back. We've been seeing some of the biggest numbers we've ever seen in E4A. So a lap around here is about 1 minute and 48 seconds. As Will Borland is set, he's currently on provisional pole for the Pro and overall class. Who's your pick for tonight?
So Will Borland, he did get the win last week, the Nürburgring. Obviously, the Nürburgring doesn't, it maybe doesn't correlate to other tracks as much. But right now, I mean, he's got a huge gap on Matthias Akrich, who for most of the first part of this qualifying session was in first. And so that's a really impressive lap time for him to put in. It could have been, gifted a little bit with some tow, but I mean, I don't think it's all that out there to think that he could follow up with a second win after his win last week.
Yeah, I don't think it's too impossible for him. However, Matthias and Terry Calgar Jr., he's been up there as well. With the slipstream around here, it's so hard to tell because you can be almost half a second a lap slower and still be right on the end of them by the straight. So I don't know. We'll see. How about GTD AM?
GTD AM. I mean, obviously we can see a lot of drivers there. This is a really big GTD AM field, and I mean, anything can happen with incidents. We've seen Jeff Mcdonald. He's there on provisional pole currently. We've seen him put in a lot of fast lap times, and maybe the races haven't all gone exactly how he wanted. I think that if I were to really put maybe some money down, I wouldn't be shocked if Mac Johnson actually does pretty well in this race. He is currently in fourth there, and he's not a driver that's afraid to make moves.
No, he is not. We saw him on his return to sim racing after months last week at the Nürburgring. He took almost, was it third or fourth? He was up there in GTD AM, and a great showing. He's actually sitting on his floor on a pillow. That's
yeah. Last week was definitely up and down for him. He's going to be hoping for just ups this time.
I'd say so. My pick in GTDM, I don't know. It's hard to say, but there is one man that does stand out to me tonight, and that would be that of Jeff Mcdonald. We can take a look at him. He's up in first with a 148.8, and down in second for his class is Daniel Real in, looks like, 13th overall. So, I don't know. He's got that pace gap, but will it be enough?
Well, and the other important thing is if qualifying were to end right now, despite they are in different classes, but they all grid together. So having those 5 cars between him and the second place for GTDM would be a huge boon for the start of the race.
Yes, that is very, very crucial, especially not so much at this track, but still a factor at tracks where you can't pass as easily. So out there tonight, looks like that's a Ferrari doing some ballet. Looks like Valtteri Bottas in Austria. But out there tonight, a decent spread of cars. It looks mostly Mercedes, Ferrari, and Audi. Not a lot of Audi, never mind. But Mercedes and Ferrari seem to be the 2 popular ones tonight.
Yeah, and especially Mercedes is 1, 2, 3 in the GTD AM right now. And the real life track record here is a 147.1, which was also set by the Mercedes GT3. Actually, the previous version, so not the 2020 reboot, but the Mercedes is definitely, at least in real life, a car that's very strong here, and for the GTD AM drivers, it's strong for them as well.
Yeah, it's looking strong. Although up in GTD Pro, it's a little bit more diverse. Ferrari, then BMW, then Porsche. Mercedes only taking 5th in GTD Pro. Let's take a look at the standings, our manufacturer standings. Here's GTD AM. Right now, Ferrari is leading the way with 38 points, followed by Mercedes, BMW, Lamborghini, Porsche, Audi, McLaren, and Ford. We got 2 ties in there. That would be Lamborghini and Porsche, and McLaren and Ford at the bottom. And then we can take a look at our GTD Pro. Porsche leads the way. That's kind of surprising to me. Followed by BMW, Mercedes, Audi, Ferrari, McLaren, Ford, and Lamborghini. It's really interesting that Ferrari is so far down, whereas it's leading in AM.
Yeah, I'm surprised to see it there in provisional poll for GTD Pro. I mean, I think like it's certainly not the slowest car, but in general, it seems to be one that the pros haven't gravitated towards as much. I think that it, in most tracks, has like less potential, possibly. But I mean, here Will Borland's getting everything out of it.
Yeah, to really drive fast, you got to be on the edge. You just can't be safe. You got to be on that limit. And the Ferrari is generally looked at as a safe car. I mean, you went all races and finished 2nd in safety points last season with that Ferrari.
Indeed. It's it hasn't really ever failed me. But it is cool seeing 3 different classes, or 3 different cars, sorry, in the top 3 of GTD Pro. And, you know, as you were saying, going back to surprised that Porsche is on top of the manufacturers. I think in a vacuum, I would be surprised as well, because the Porsche is a real beast to handle, at least in its current version. But when you know that Terry Calger Jr. is the guy who's running the Porsche in every race, it's not so surprising to see that on top.
Yeah, Terry Calger Jr. is an absolute weapon in that Porsche. I mean, I don't remember a time where he wasn't running that gray and green livery.
Yeah, and Paul Skip, you know, he typically in seasons past has always run the Porsche as well, but this year he's done a few different cars, and he's running the Audi today.
Yes, he is unlike him, although he is keeping the brand with that John Player Special livery. When he does come back out on track, we can take a look at it. He's always that black and gold car. If you see a black and gold car, it's Paul Skip. Now, interesting here, Marcus Osborne with the Fallout livery is driving around with some damage. I'm not sure if he knows that he has the damage or if he doesn't think it affects him enough, but with this open qualifying and fixed setup that we have, you really gotta keep the car clean and get that fuel burned down. Then you can take the tires and go out for that fast lap with brand new fresh tires and low fuel. So looks like he's gonna pit to repair that damage, but that's the strategy of open qualifying on a fixed setup. You gotta burn the fuel down over the 40 minutes that we give you, take the tires, and then go out. Similar to this was really in play at Daytona.
For sure. And while that's all absolutely correct, in Marcus's situation, he does have an EOL from an incident on lap 1 last race. So regardless of how he does here, he has to start from the back of the race anyway. So
as does Tony Watson as well. I'm
hoping that Tony is here. He's in Florida, and obviously they're having, hurricane weather right now, and he wasn't sure if he'd be able to show up or not. So I'm hoping that he's going to be able to race tonight.
Yeah, I hope to see him. Hope everybody in Florida is safe, staying out of the danger area, and just hoping that it doesn't damage everything and everybody stays safe.
Yeah, I mean, we've got a lot of Florida guys in the session. Terry Calger Jr., he's Florida. We already said that Tony Watson was. I believe Tyler Langenberg is in Florida. Jeff Mcdonald. And then it looks like Sasha Kempter as well. So, hopefully everything's all right for those guys and that they can still stick around and race, too.
Yeah, we love to have people here to race. And that's what we'll be doing in about 7.5 minutes. The open qualifying will come to an end, and we'll see some cars start to go around on that pace lap.
Yeah, it looks like it's been a little bit since we've seen improvement among the tops, the top positions of each class. Not a lot of purples, a lot of yellows. I'm wondering if the track is warming up a little bit and the times just aren't coming as much anymore.
That is very possible. The track temperature right now is 93 degrees Fahrenheit, which is pretty consistent with what we've seen over the rest of the season. Although it is 84 degrees Fahrenheit, which seems, I think usually it's a bit colder in the air temperature.
Yeah, the temperature is, you can like lock the temperature to start at something, but you can't control anything after that. So I believe it starts at 60 for the session, but after that, the game just generates what goes on from there, and it must have heated up, I guess.
And we also see possibly 2 times or 4 times day speed, the sun going up and down, as we see that clock over on the right hand side is ticking down. Will this race finish with a little at dusk or night even?
It would be certainly fun to have that. I don't think it's not planning to, I believe. We do have a couple races on this calendar, though, that are day to night or night to day, though.
Yeah, we saw that at Daytona, and we also saw that we're going to see that at Le Mans.
And Spa, I believe.
And Spa, yes.
Yeah, the classic 24-hour, ones.
Yep. Spa, of course, will be next week, and Le Mans will be 2-3 weeks after that.
Yeah, we got a great slate of races coming up for sure.
We do indeed. Right now, just for filling the time, Ryan Tyler Langenberg, and Nicholas Paletti are the top 3 in GTD Pro. Patrick Ripley, who took that promising lead in round 1, has fallen all the way down to 6th place. And then for GTD Am, Christopher Newby, a rookie, followed by James Foreman, also a rookie, and Mark and Dillon Jr. Round out the top 3 of GTD Am. Now that rookie next to their name on our standings sheet here signifies that they have never won a Pony Express race, and that will qualify them for the Rookie of the Year award. Now, I believe that is a medal. Correct me if I'm wrong.
I'll be honest, I don't remember. Probably. Most likely.
But the highest point-scoring rookie, granted they don't win a race over the season, will bring home a medal, even if they don't win the championship. But right now, Christopher Newby is a rookie, and he's leading the championship, so he may get both.
Yeah, I can't believe that Christopher Newby hasn't won a race yet. I think it does go to show as well that the previous season, how much of a stranglehold Nicholas Paletti had on E4A in the GT3 class.
Oh, never mind. Hold on. That may not have been updated. Maybe it is when the season starts, you're locked into rookie, because Christopher Newby has 2 race wins, along with Mark Dillon Jr. out of the 4 rounds we've had. So I'm not sure the exact ruling on that.
Yeah, it must be from the start. I knew that Newby had done well this season. I forgot that actually 2 of those were wins.
Yes, I believe that would be Nürburgring and Daytona that he took the wins at. They feel so long ago, even though they were merely 4 weeks ago. Steven,
yeah, we did have that week off as well.
We did. That is very true. Oh, 5 weeks ago now. Wow. Steve Simstation, one of our drivers that unfortunately had some complications today, said the track was pretty warm already when he was out on track in practice. So we'll see how that plays out.
Terry Kiger Jr. did just get closer to Will Borland. He flipped positions with Matthias Ackridge there. But still 2/10 off. That's a pretty decent chunk of time.
It is. We see about the same gap and distribution down in GTD Am. But it's going to be a tight race. I mean, these gaps are not very representative because everybody's going to have slipstream during qualifying. Once the race starts, it's not going to be as cars willy-nilly everywhere. So it'll be interesting to see.
Yeah, this is a track where it's just necessary for you to be really good on braking. So more than any other skill, for this track, you have to be very efficient with your braking. Like, obviously, you know, these have ABS, so it helps, you know, not lock up the brakes as often, but you still have to have a very deft left foot to get the maximum efficiency, and it's going to be really hard to win any sort of 1v1s. You're going to be really struggling to race other people if you can't brake as late as absolutely possible.
Yes, that is, especially not too long ago, about 2 weeks ago, when we did the Lotus 79s for week 1. Braking was one of the hardest things. You can get on throttle, but it's all about how you get on the brakes and really use the momentum. Track limits here are very tight, so you got to stay in track limits. We might see a few drive-throughs. And then you got to just weave the car between the two really, really high sausage curves that some of these turns have.
Yeah, the safety points will definitely come into play today. It's easy to get accidental contacts with other drivers. It is such a racy track that it's not that far-fetched that any one of these drivers, no matter how safe they are, could get into a wreck. But, of course, we have the no passing rule for Turn 1, which is great, because Turn 1 at Monza is infamous. In every racing series, whether real life or sim, carnage always happens in the red filo chicane. But with the no passing rule, ideally the start of this race should be a whole lot cleaner than anything else that usually runs here.
If I had it up, I would I'd take a recall back to 04A a few seasons ago, where one Mr. Zachary Nurnberger in the Lamborghini tonight took a little, I'd say, shortcut through the turn 1 chicane and absolutely ended Tyler or Stephen Thompson's race.
Yeah, I mean, and again, like, he did that, but even like real life, like I was just recently watching like a history video on it again, because I remembered it was 2015 F3. There were so many crashes in the first 2 races that they like told the drivers, like, hey, you need to improve your standards for the next race or we're quitting it. And 4 minutes into the 3rd race, after more crashes, they just canceled the race. They just red flagged it because the drivers were driving so poorly.
I remember that race, and that race wasn't actually like a bunch of nobodies. I believe Antonio Giovinazzi, Lance Stroll, Leclerc,
Giovinazzi,
maybe?
Stroll, Sede Camara, George Russell, Alex Albon, Santino Ferrucci, Tatiana Calderon. Like, I mean, just like all Maxi Gunter, like Jake Dennis. Names keep going on.
It was definitely
Rosenquist.
Definitely a stacked race there. That yeah. I remember the highlight reel of that. There was cars flipping everywhere. I believe that's one of Lance Stroll's worst crashes ever. He was rolling through turn 1.
Yeah, it was right here. It was in Curva Grande. Him and Giovinazzi came together, and he went into that left side of the barrier.
That's where it was, yeah. You'll see some of those in the F1 drivers 2022 worst crashes preseason. I don't know if anybody's seen those videos pop up before, but they're definitely pretty common with me. So we're at the end of qualifying now. All the drivers are going to get to finish their lap, and we'll head to the grid. Looks like just Paul Boyle needs to finish up along with Sasha Kempter.
Yeah, that's a fun little feature of the open qualifying, is that drivers get to finish their laps. When you're doing the closed qualifying, it's just the race just in, or the qualifying session just ends like 10 seconds after the timer goes up.
Sasha Kempter having a little trouble with internet today.
Yeah, we can barely see him.
He's blinking in and out. That's a struggle that I know all too well, unfortunately. But be getting geared up to race very, very shortly. So let's take a look at our overview of the weekend. We had a 40-minute qualifying as opposed to 20 minutes, like it says. We're going to have a 50% fuel cap and a 100-minute race. So it should be around a 3-stop.
Yeah, that's the goal. That's what it should be. Not a lot of fuel saving you can do in this track.
No, it is very, very flat out. I believe it's, what, 70% of the lap is flat out?
Yeah, it's probably close to that. It's in F1 at least. It's the lap with the most on throttle.
That's why they call it the tempo of speed. I'm not sure what the average top speed is in GT3, but it is. I mean, look at all these straights. You can see there's one big one, another big one after the Parabolica. You got Curva Grande, which is also flat out, and then the back straight. So, really,
Tony Watson in the race, by the way. I was like I said, I was worried he wasn't gonna be here. He is here. He does have to start from the back, but he's here.
All right, so we'll see Tony Watson and Gareth McAllister is also in here. Tony Watson, along with Marcus Osborne, duking it out, trying to work their way back up through the order after their incidents last race. They cost them an EOL. We can sort of hear the roars of the engines. That's the pace car we can hear in the background.
You want to run through the qualifying order?
There they are. Yes, we'll take a look at our grid for today's race. All right. So Will Borland takes pole, followed by Terry Cowger Jr., Matthias Ackrich, Tyler Langenberg, Adrian Vahil, Nicholas Paletti, Marcus Osborne, Paul Boyle, Jeff McDonald on pole for GTD AM, all the way up in 9th overall, followed by Brad McCombs, Paul Skip, and Aaron Claybaugh.
Following that, we have Daniel Real, second place for GTD AM, followed by Christopher Newby, then Andrew Neri, Don McCloy, followed by Mac Johnson and Sasha Kempter, Zach Nernberger, Patrick Ripley, Mark Dillon Jr., Michael Della Sala, James Kingsbury, and Daniel Barnett.
And then we see James Foreman, David Levine, Christopher Craig, Ryan Glover, Daniel Hingley, Dave Ferrara, Gareth McAllister, Tony Watson, Stephen Shepard. Now, there's quite a few names that have usually been pretty high up there that are relatively low down here today. So that's interesting to see. The ones that stick out to me, James Foreman.
I think it comes back to what, like, this really favors like one specific skill. I mean, of course, you still need to be good on throttle and smooth on the steering, but like with this accentuating one driving facet, it can, really separate these drivers interestingly.
It definitely can. Now, we don't do a full pace lap. They start on the back straight, go through the Ascari chicane, and now they're going to work their way up to the Parabolica. So we'll be going green pretty soon now. What are your predictions on the first lap? You think it's going to be clean?
Yeah, I think we've seen really clean, like almost, the drivers have been extremely hesitant with each other in lap one. And that's what we want a safe, clean lap one, but we haven't had like any incidents in the first couple minutes. The only reason we had lap one incidents last week was because the lap is over 8 minutes long.
Yes, and it is Monza, but I think it'll be clean. Here we go then. Will Borland's going to lead him off, and he will take the green flag. There we go. Took a little bit, but there he goes. Gets the green flag, and they all race down into turn one.
Gary's really blinking out right.
Yes.
Hopefully that doesn't become an issue.
We've seen quite a few people today with some internet connection issues. Marcus Osborne deciding to start from the pits instead of taking that end of line penalty. I guess he figures might as well stay safe if you're going to start from the back anyway.
Yeah, I think Borland, if we see anything, I think we should keep an eye on Ascari. It'll be really easy for a driver to lose it there if his tires are too cold.
Very easily there, along with the Lesmos. Lesmo 1 and Lesmo 2, really Lesmo 2. It's easy to just get a little bit of snap oversteer and end up in the barrier. That happened to me in my Lotus 79 race.
Yeah, it cambers away on that corner, on the exit of Lesmo 2.
That's Will Borland going through it right now, or heading up to it, I should say. Seems
everything's pretty clean. Not seeing anything behind. It's what we want to see, but drivers can race each other now. It's just they have to be more careful than normal.
They're all filing through relatively nicely.
If anything happens in this car, all the drivers taking it well. No one's even looking really that out of shape. And you got some drivers on the little front.
We definitely do.
Looks like James Kingsbury back in the GTM field, right on Michael De La Salle right now. He's happy to use some of that draft though.
Here they are.
Going in the Parabolica, and now Daniel Barnett closes up on them as well. Kingsbury going to go on the inside of Parabolica here. Doesn't quite have the run. It can get frustrating in that corner trying to get the exact right time to get on throttle. But he's got the overspeed coming into turn 1 here if he can break it later. We see Langenberg and Ackert there against each other. Kingsbury does make it past De La Salle there for the GTD field for 7th place.
We have people side by side everywhere. There's Patrick Ripley, who started in way low in 15th tonight. Interesting to see him so far back. He's battling with owner and GTD driver Mark Dillon Jr.
He's just letting him by. He just let him by there.
Interesting. Maybe Patrick did not do as much practice as he had hoped tonight.
Yeah, it's a little interesting to see that. It's not a terribly complicated track. You know, you can get up to speed with it pretty quick.
I mean, Mark Dillon Jr. was loading in saying, "Is this the track that didn't go very well in 04A? Oh no, that was Montreal." So Mark Dillon Jr. obviously hasn't driven this track in a long time. Interesting to see. I mean, he's usually one of your solid picks for a win. He'll come in and say, "Oh, I have never driven this car," and then he'll win by 3 seconds. That is a lot of cars.
Line. And that's, you know, where you get the draft, but then, you know, the guy behind you has the draft, and the guy behind him has the draft. Is that Daniel Barnett making a move on James Kingsbury? Yes. Wow. Okay. So he went way too deep. Yeah, way too deep. I thought for a second maybe Kingsbury was just being a little passive, but clearly Barnett just had missed that breaking point there.
Looks like he almost hit Foreman on that re-entry if he wasn't careful. Now you'll see they are so very close going down that straight into the braking zone. I mean, too wide. It's a 2x2 right there. Although the left side can brake a little bit later, as shown here. James Foreman and Daniel Barnett duking it out through turn 1 and 2. Daniel Barnett.
Yeah, you can see there that if you're on the inside, if you're on the left side, and you haven't sealed him off on the exit of, you know, that chicane, then you lose. This is what's going to happen. If you guys come out side by side, the right side just has more momentum going.
They definitely do. Here we go, almost 3 wide with Jeff McDonald.
There was a crash up there. There was a crash. Adrian Garcia-Vigil.
Let's take a look.
He's stuck waiting right now on the side of the road.
This is what happened to him in that blue Mercedes.
Into Roja.
Little too much.
Barely. Got a tire in the sand, and that's a bummer. That's some damage. It could be worse, but probably going to limp it back to the pits now.
Definitely could be. Just so many cars. I mean, wow.
It's a cool view. I can't tell what's going on in it, but it's a cool view.
I mean, it's just awesome to see that many cars. Claybaugh and Skip going at it right now. That's what we were talking about, the black and gold car. That's how we skipped Claybaugh a little wide.
Yeah, he at least would have got off track there, possibly a slowdown. I can't remember off the top of my head the slowdown rules on this track.
Yeah, you definitely don't want getting off track here because they are so easy to get, and you only get 17. I mean, we've already seen people. Paul Boyle has 3. Tyler Langenberg 2. It's so easy to get, and not only will you get a slowdown if you hit 17, but you'll lose safety points after 8. You really got to be careful.
It's a lot of points too. I mean, if you have 0, you get 4 bonus points, and then it's 1 to 8, you get 3. I mean, 3 is the gap between first and second. 3 is larger than a gap between any of the other 2 positions.
Yeah, it's definitely important to have, as we see even more cars going side by side.
Zachary Nuremberg trying to defend, and if you want to try a little bit of a collision.
He's got a little bit of damage in that right rear fender there.
As the car on the right, you got to be more aggressive trying to claim that second apex, or else you're just going to have to back out like you had to there.
Yeah, oh my. So many cars right here. Let's take a look at the helicopter view if we can. I think that'll give a great idea of what's going on down these straights. Side by side into the Ascari chicane. A really tight and fast-paced corner, set of corners there. It's tighter than you really think it'll be. It has that.
These drivers aren't for positioning class, but that's not. It's not. It doesn't mean they're not racing each other. Don McCoy's happy to have.
That's Tingley into the wall on Daniel Barnett. We just saw side by side through Ascari that we were talking about earlier. Not the greatest idea. Neri and Watson almost coming together. Here's Paul Boyle and Nicholas Paletti.
It's actually Don McCloy. It's the Martini Mercedes.
Yes.
Kind of just lets him have it there. Was that two different classes potentially?
No, that's Paletti. Paletti and Paul Boyle. Here we see.
Oh, okay. So his teammates, they're just playing a little nice.
Yep, McDonald, Skip, and Claybaugh and Skip are in two different classes, or in different classes than McDonald. So McDonald's going to let him through and just try to preserve that lead he has right now.
Well, yeah, the car right behind him, right on track, is Christopher Newby, though, second in class. So
there he is.
He can't afford to lose hardly any time being behind those guys.
Gareth McAllister, the guy keeping the Ford dream alive in GTD Pro, into turn one. It looks like he just got a little too slow for our monitoring system.
Yeah,
and
it looked all right to me.
Had a little notification pop up, but he's all right. Thank God for the Ford.
Interesting gap there in the pro class with the top four having completely separated themselves from Paul Boyle there in fifth. There's a 3-second gap between fourth and fifth.
That's very interesting. I don't know what the cause of that would be. Would it just be the battling, the natural spread, or is there some other
I mean,
event?
if Paul Boyle was battling someone and he loses that draft from Paletti in front, or he loses it from Ackrich in front, then I mean that's going to be really no making that back.
No. Here is Neri going through Parabolica, following Daniel Real. Looking to use that slipstream. Both Mercedes down into turn one. As we see the cars ahead of them. Also, really, really tight. Following that straight line. Jeff McDonald, who I think we mentioned last week, forgot to take the grid off of his car before he exported it. It is still on there if you look closely.
Yeah, I did message him about it. Happens to the best of us.
It does indeed. Gareth McAllister and Daniel Hingley into turn one. McAllister just so much better on the brakes. Gets the move done very nicely.
Yeah, Hingley may be letting him by since they're not in the same class as well.
Oh, that is...
Oh, that was close.
That's the Ferrari there of Mac Johnson going, doing some off-roading. It's not going to affect him too much, although he has lost an overall position, not an in-class position.
Yeah, it did well to get out of the throttle there. He has some damage on the rear of his car, and I wonder what that came from.
That very possibly,
a little fender bender.
Very possibly could have been somebody trying to bump draft. You know, the long straights we got here.
Yeah, I mean, at least his rear wing is intact. It's just a little bit of crunch of the bumper, but not what you want to have.
No, not at all. Mark Dillon Jr. and Zachary Nuremberger. Maybe we'll see something going down in the Parabolica. Just maybe. Nope, he's going to tuck behind.
Terry Cogner when we can see him is close enough to make. He is racing Will Borland. He's only temporarily visible.
But he is side by side into turn 1.
Maybe, possibly.
No, he came up behind. I'm sure Will Borland is not a huge fan of the blinking, making it hard for him to race.
And Langenberg's now right behind Terry as well, and it's just what are you gonna do?
Mac Johnson just barely escaping getting hit in the rear by Sasha Kempter. Here's David Levine on Ryan Glover. Can't make it work.
Oh, Langenberg making a move into Lesmo 1 on Terry.
When we can see Terry.
Oh, yeah.
There we go.
Didn't quite have the guts to just send it in there. I mean, you can't, half the time when you can't see the guy you're racing, but we got another race down here into Ascari for sure.
Yeah, and he'll definitely get that slipstream. Tyler Langenberg up 1 position from his start, down in 4th place. Now in 3rd. He's gonna back off. He's a little scared, and he doesn't need to race super hard at this stage of the race. Only 12 minutes in.
And he wants it, to be slow in, fast out. Like especially when you're right behind someone, you want to maximize that exit, give yourself room to do so.
Very, very, very true. Let's take a look at our static camera because that always has some of the best views. I just love this camera.
This top 3 is close. Matisse Akrich still, he's sniffing that top 3 group, but those guys are all so close to each other, like 3/10 apart from each other. Langenberg less than 2 from Terry right now.
Yeah, look.
Oh,
ooh, Terry Kyver Jr. going
Huge
for
sin.
it. That's not going to work.
No. Couldn't get on the brakes. He's going to have to give that up, and it's going to be a pretty big slowdown. He may lose it to Akrich as well, I would believe.
Yep.
That's how he bleeds this off.
Now he will, surely. Akrich is going to go the long way around Curva Grande. 1 foot for every 25 feet, as I like to say here on the broadcast. Terry Kyver Jr. is going to keep that 3rd place, however. That's surprising for me.
Yeah, he just it was late. It was very late for sure, and too late to be able to actually make it.
Very, very, very close. Through the first chicane, or the second chicane, I should say. Into Lesmo 1 goes Mac Johnson, followed by Sasha Kempter, Patrick Ripley, and Zach Nurnberger in that Lamborghini. Here we go, though. Brad McCombs on Nick Paletti into Ascari. Nothing's going to happen there. Ooh, Brad took a lot of curb there. Looks all right,
Right
though.
behind them, the top 2 of AM are right on each other. Although, actually, McDonald had a bad exit there.
Here's the leader of the amateur class.
It was 2 or 3/10 going into the Ascari, but bad exit for Jeff McDonald just kind of separated a little bit. But their story is very similar to GTD Pro, where those podium positions are all right next to each other.
Yeah, and Christopher Newby, by the way, is now in 1st, as Jeff McDonald was leading before, I believe, right?
He was, yeah, he got pole, and I think we must have missed when the positions got swapped.
This is Paul
But
Skip
Ray House staying there, yeah.
looking for that move. Can't make it. Mac Johnson and Patrick Ripley, though, also followed by Zachary Nurnberger. If any one of them makes a mistake, Mac Johnson might be on the losing end of this stick here. Zachary Nurnberger is better on the brakes. He's ahead, and he gets the pass done using Patrick Ripley, a different class car.
That's exactly the situation I was talking about before, where if you're on the inside, you're on the left side, you have to seal off the exit, and that's exactly what he did, and that's how he stayed ahead of Mac.
Yes, he did, and I mean that's similar to the Spa with Hakkinen and Schumacher, using out of class or lapped cars to your advantage. Really good racecraft there by Nurnberger.
Donald definitely seems like he's faster through the Lesmos than Newby, but now he's actually got Ray Al for the second Lesmo faster than he is.
Real's got the overspeed to make that move into Ascari. Does he want to, though? It's such a risky move. Only 16 minutes into the race.
Oh,
he's going to go for it.
Deep.
Oh, McDonald's
yeah,
not going to be happy. Oh, and that is Paul Skip around as well.
Wow.
In the JPS Audi. What happened to him? Through Ascari. I think just a little bit too much on exit, and it's going to snap on him.
And
yeah,
right into the grass.
Not really a snap, but yeah, that's not what you want to see. We see the lead Mercedes go around him.
Yeah, I don't. I wonder if. Sure, I know McDonald will be running through that in his head. If he had just hit the brakes, you know, maybe he could have got around. But at the very least, no major damage to those guys. But certainly, they've spread out a little bit more than they were.
Yeah,
Newbie has a much safer lead.
Almost 2 seconds now. Kempter thought about it, but Patrick Ripley is going to be out in front through those corners. Here's Gareth McAllister and Daniel Hingley with Tony Watson lurking in the background. Can Gareth make it work into turn 1 this time? He's tried multiple times. He's looking to make it work now. Looks like he's going to be way up there. Tony Watson also going to capitalize on that. He used a lot of curb there. He may get a slowdown.
Yeah, he did.
But he made the position. That's if he can keep it now.
I don't think you get a slowdown on that one. I think he was being a little too. He could have claimed that corner more if he wanted to, but got the position. That's all that matters.
He did indeed. Here's Will Borland, our leader right now, doing a nice job out in front. But Tyler Langenberg is not far off of him, and Terry Kegger Jr. as well, lurking in the shadows. Here's Paul Skip coming out of the pit lane. Took his fast repair after going headfirst into the wall.
When I can tell, not even 20 minutes in, I think we only have 5 drivers that have not had an incident so far.
That is not a lot, considering we have 30 cars today. That's about, what, 20% of the field? Not even? No.
1/6, so less than 20%, yeah.
Yeah. About 15-something%. 15.15. But yeah, let's take a look at our off tracks now. Lots of people dangerously close to losing that safety bonus. Tyler Langenberg, Brad McCombs, Don McCloy, Mac Johnson, Christopher Craig's almost there. It's the track limits here are insanely strict.
I think that your graphic may be counting black flag slowdowns, maybe. I'm confused. I'm looking. When I'm looking on my screen, I see Tyler Langenberg as having 0 incidents so far. 0 incidents in total. Will Borland, Tyler Langenberg, Nick Paletti, James Foreman, and David Levine is the only guys with 0.
Interesting.
Yeah, I'm not sure what's getting counted on that, but certain drivers don't have that much. But almost everyone has between 1 and 4 right now.
Well, one thing's for certain. They will be getting them eventually, and it's just a matter of who can get the least. Back here we see Patrick Ripley looking for the move on Don McCloy, as along with Andrew Neri being followed by Jeff McDonald into Ascari. Nothing happening there, but we look back. Patrick Ripley thought for a moment he might do it, decided better of it, and pulled back into the slipstream to make it down the back straight.
Watching the GTD Pro podium positions, you know, Terry Kegger Jr.'s got to be kicking himself still from that mistake he made in turn 1, because as much as it seems like, you know, with all the on throttle and the, you know, the drafting, like you'd be able to pass really easily on this track, you can't. It's very difficult to get, but you have to hit it in the right spots.
All about the exits and just keeping that momentum going, really. Jeff McDonald, who qualified on a pole in GTD AM, is now down 2 positions, looking to make up a place on Andrew Neri, not for class, however.
Andrew Neri has been quite involved with the front runners of the GTD AM field, and it's slowing them down a lot, having to deal with them.
Yeah, he's definitely not letting it go easy. He does not want that buffer between him and the rest of his class, but looks like Mcdonald is probably going to get it. I don't know. They're pretty equal. In the background, that's Patrick Ripley with Don McCloy.
Right now, Langenberg's been about as close to Borland as he has been for quite a while here. Just a few tenths separating him for the lead. Just he needs a little bit more than that, though. You know, he's close enough to sniff, but you need to be able to get side by side if you're gonna try to make any moves here.
This is Marcus Osborne going for it on Mark Dillon Jr.
Yep, not for class. Oh well, that didn't help, Mark.
No, not good for Marcus Osborne at all. Looping it in that first chicane.
Yeah, certainly could have been worse, but not the preferred outcome for sure.
No, but it's better than being in the wall. So, you know.
Yeah, Marcus and Tony both showing you know the pain of getting a EOL when you're in the pro field, because I mean Marcus had done a pretty decent job making his way through the field, but he still had, you know, quite a good group of cars to go before he was even back into like the main group of the pro drivers.
Yeah, Marcus Osborne has made his way. Let's see, he has passed almost 10 cars, but he's still 13th where it counts. So
yeah, exactly. Luckily, no incidents from lap 1 this time.
So nobody will end up with an EOL next race.
Someone off the track there. Who was that?
Looks like
That was Dave Ferrara.
Dave Ferrara. Not sure what happened to him. He may have just... Oh, here we go.
Probably gets into the sand in the exit of this. Yep.
Happens to the best of us. Unfortunate. He's waiting to rejoin there. And he's in pit lane now after towing. No shortage of action on track.
I see him going into the Aspari chicane right now, personally. I don't think he towed. He had no damage at the very least.
Well, maybe not. Oh, that was Daniel Hingley that towed. Apologies.
Interesting.
Daniel Hingley, not sure what happened to him, but he is in the pit lane. He was back there towards the end of the field battling with Gareth McAllister.
Yes.
Look at them
So right now
sling through that
that's
corner.
Mac and Zach there battling pretty hard. And Patrick Ripley there trying to get around Tom McCloy in front.
Nothing doing into the Parabolica, but
No, Nürnberger's plenty happy to have that draft from Sasha Kempter in front.
yeah, and I'm sure that'll help a little bit with fuel. It may not be enough to really make a difference, but definitely could. We saw that at Spa in GT4 back last season, me and Marcus Osborne battling. One of us was sitting in the draft the whole way and got an extra lap out of it, so it could come into play later on.
Speaking of which, first pits are probably not that far from coming out, from happening. I wouldn't be surprised if Daniel Hingley's was just a scheduled pit stop, because he didn't tow, and this isn't, this is 25 minutes in. Probably expect the cars to go for an hour at their most with the 50% tank.
Yeah, about half an hour, like you said. We'll see who can make that stretch happen. I'm not sure if he's here tonight. Stephen Thompson is a enthusiast of odd strategies and fuel stretching.
Yeah, I think Steven said that he unfortunately won't be able to commit to the E4A full time. It's just a lot of practice and stuff, especially for that pro class.
It very much is, and Steven, of course, being more of a open wheeler guy anyway.
Oh,
there we go. Will Borland in the pit lane, as we were just discussing about pit strategy and everything. Patrick Ripley on Mcdonald, not for position, but for track position, I suppose. Ripley going a little bit wide. I don't think that's an off track, though.
I'm interested to see what happens with Borland coming out of the pits here, because if he doesn't get any traffic, it was probably a good call so that he's not giving that toe to Langenberg behind. But if he's going to come out in some really messy traffic, then he may have hurt himself rather than. I mean, I guess maybe he can't go any longer. That may have been the end of the tank because everyone's pitting right now. So
yeah, there are a lot of people in the pit lane right now.
Yeah, we should keep our eye on Langenberg and Carragher Jr. coming into pit potentially this lap as well.
Here they are going through Lesmo 1. It's going to be interesting. I mean, that's, what, probably 10, 15 people in the pit lane right now. So
yeah, it must be an into-tank thing. I doubt that's a strategy.
Let's take a look here. That is 14 laps that they did. Paul Boyle, or Patrick Ripley, I suppose, up 11 places. That's just because they haven't pit yet. So we'll see that.
We'll see that shake out soon.
Shake out again. I was gonna say, that's a big climb.
Look at the incidents. We're down to just Nick Paletti and David Levine with 0. That's it. We just got to the first pit stop.
Speaking of incidents, this is James Foreman. Let's find out what happened to him into turn 1.
Ooh, interesting. Coming out of the pits, too.
Right in that sausage curb. Definitely going to cause him a little bit of damage there.
Yeah, Langenberg into the pits. And Terry Kiger Jr. as well. Yeah, that's an interesting thing. Usually you brake too much for turn 1 because you come out of the pits and then you just like mindlessly do your normal braking point, but you're going like half the speed that you were.
Yeah, it's very interesting. This is Will Borland, who was our class leader, and Michael Della Sala, not for class position like
and Della
always.
Sala in the pits.
So pretty soon we'll see where everybody shakes out after the pit stops.
Langenberg in the pit exit, and Will Borland is going to be behind him, it looks like. Is it going to be close? Yeah, he's going to be behind. That's a loss.
Interesting.
Maybe he couldn't have made the fuel stretch, but if he could, he's going to really be wishing that he had done that extra lap.
Now remember, Borland has been leading all that way, so he got no slipstream to help him. David Levine is not pitting at all, and he's a lap down or he's doing some crazy fuel saving. But as I was saying,
no, he's on lead lap from what I understand.
Will Borland, or David Levine leading now, but Will Borland had been out in front. He didn't get any slipstream to save that fuel, so that's why Terry Kiger Jr. and Tyler Langenberg could stretch out an extra lap, because they had the slipstream the whole race.
Yeah, and like it doesn't, when you think about it, it may not seem like a big deal because it's like, everyone has to do the same amount of pit stops regardless. But Will Borland had some traffic after he had pit, and just having that time loss is what has now put him into the net second place rather than keeping the first that he was in. Yeah,
and a lot of it also could be just the pit entrance, pit exit, getting into your box, out of your box, getting the car rolling again, Zach Nurnberger is a big advocate for practicing the pit entry and exit.
Yeah, it's not a complicated pit entry, but it's one where you have to know your braking point because you just send it all the way in. All right, Dave Levine is running out of fuel. I can hear it. He's limping into the pits. He's going to have to hope that he rolls all the way there.
He's into the pit lane, but if he does have to tow, it will not be 3 minutes. It'll be probably about 20 seconds, which is not a great number, but it's not the end of the world. An interesting fuel strategy from him. Looks like he made it to the box and took 3.1 seconds of fuel. Huh.
No, he's still in his box right now.
All right, I'm just being bamboozled by my graphics.
Yeah, he just left now. So this wouldn't be one that would surprise me if drivers decided to take no tires. It's not a tire wear track by any means. You get a lot of brake on them. The only thing is maybe, Parabolica, which is the final corner, maybe putting some wear on the left front. but and you do have the Lesmos as well. So if I were to guess, that the maximum that we'll see the contenders do is just change the front left. Could be wrong.
I'd say so. That's some that's a Zach Nürnberger trademark strategy. The supercars, just get that extra little bit of grip, but be careful and don't imbalance the car with grip. Here's our
Yeah, I
leader
mean, there's
now.
a lot more demanding tracks that you can double stint on than this one.
Very true. This is Tyler Langenberg out in front, but Will Borland has that slipstream, and he's looking to. Well, actually, he may want to sit back in the slipstream this time and get that extra lap, while Tyler has to pit early and kind of even it out.
Interested to see the dynamic change here of Borland behind and see. He had that pace to stay in front before. Does he have like that much extra pace to get around Langenberg pretty quick, or is it just going to be him stuck behind Langenberg like Langenberg was stuck behind him?
Yeah, we'll have to find out. I'm not sure. That is Terry Carriger Jr. just blinking, causing that mass red. Don McCloy.
Which actually, let's bring attention to that as well. That through that pit cycle, Terry Carriger Jr. fell behind Ackrich. He was in third. And he's now like a couple seconds off of Ackrich even.
He is. That is very interesting. Here's McCloy and McDonald again. Nothing happening, however. All right. Mark Dillon Jr. and Mac Johnson, or Sasha Kempter, though. Mac thought about it for a second.
Similar looking paint. You can see him right there. You can see Mark behind. They're the exact same color.
If I could find them once more. There they are. Sasha Kempter and Mark Dillon Jr. with that metallic red. Only difference there is the model and manufacturer.
Christopher Newby for AM has really grown himself a pretty comfortable lead, and the guy behind him, Dan Real, is not too far. He doesn't got that much of a gap from Jeff McDonald behind him. So it's just all good news for Newby right now.
Yeah, I think that's one of the trademark things we've seen from Newby. He's really, really good at getting out there and building that lead, get that really, really, really consistent lap time, fire it up. Definitely one of his strengths.
Yeah, I don't think it's too surprising to see him do well. It's one that we already pegged coming into the season as a real contender for winning the GTDM title.
Yeah, I mean, he won Daytona with a similar situation. He had about a 10-second lead. So
Borland is going to be able to make a move into turn one, I think, if he's brave. Keep an eye on this. This is 10th and a half. No, he's lifting. He's happy to be behind, at least for now, I guess.
Yep, I don't think he wants to go anywhere right now. But that's Mark Dillon Jr. there on a back marker.
Whoa.
A little loose there, though.
Loose.
I believe that's
interesting place. Yeah, the car usually sticks pretty well in that corner.
I believe that's Dave Ferraro that he is duking it out with.
Yeah, a lot of Ferraris next to each other there.
Lots of Ferraris everywhere. That is Adrian Garcia Vigil into the pit lane. That blue Mercedes. Here's a move, though. Paul Skip on David Levine into turn one.
Yeah, not for class again there. Skip just trying to make up some time after that crash he had in Ascari.
Yep. Ooh, McDonald. Uh-oh. Lesmos. Oh, he's a lethal corner. Oh, no, this is the...
Rogia. Whoa, way too much speed. Yeah, man. A lot of speed there into Rogia.
That's not going to be good for him. He is beached. He's going to have to wait for all the traffic to go by before he can even rejoin the track. Which
probably would have been better suited to just take that runoff there at that point.
Yeah. Unfortunate.
That's a lot of time lost. He had to wait for 10 plus cars to go through it looked like.
Yeah, Jeff McDonald, who was in second in class, is now...
Started on pole.
Yeah, he started on pole as well. Is now down in seventh in class. Claybaugh and Brad McCombs, though, looking to make it interesting into turn one.
Those cars are so differently sized.
Yeah, I always think of the Audi as like a missile in the straight line, but they're all homologated and pretty similar. Just the Audi reminds me of a rocket ship for some reason.
Ooh, a little bit of a wiggle there by Clayball. That wasn't on purpose, you know. Him swinging to the left a little bit. That's interesting. Borland was really close going into turn one, and he's kind of lost a ton of time now. After the Redfield chicane, he's over a second back. He was just on Langenberg.
Very interesting. Maybe he's trying to do some sort of conservation.
I mean, if you want to conserve, you know, get right on him and use that draft to just lift. This had to have been a mistake.
Very possible.
But yeah, Terry Calgary right on the Ackrich there. He's caught up quite a lot.
Yeah, Ackrich went for a little rally cross there.
Probably a slowdown. Yeah, he's letting Terry by now.
He went way wide into the dirt during the second Lesmo. So probably had to slow down. Bled it off before the long straight at least. And then he can get that slipstream and pass him back into turn one if he so pleases.
That's a little more complicated than that, but he can at least try.
He can try. But
that's such a great last corner. It's it looks so simple on paper, but it's really tough to figure out exactly when they get on throttle. With such a long straight, it's very important to do it right.
It is very important. We'll take a look at the Gyro Cam. Maybe not Terry Calgary Jr. though.
Yeah, maybe not the best one.
As he's a little bit of a blinker, but does not portray just how fast they are going through here. Maybe the cockpit cam will. There we go. They are flying flat out through this corner and then into the very, very, very hard braking zone. Boom. Oh, it's such a fun track. Now, just picture yourself being Matthias Ackrich with Terry Calgary Jr. up there blinking. What are you thinking with him blinking? Are you cautious, or are you saying he's blinking so he better watch out for me?
It depends how many laps that happens for. You know, like for the first 10 laps or so, then you're cautious. You know, like I don't want him to. I hope he doesn't spin when I can't see him. And then you get to a point where it's like, okay, I'm just gonna make my move, and then if something happens, I can just say that I didn't see him.
Yes. Almost. Well, you're blinking, so it's your fault. You know. I had that a lot over the summer with my Wi-Fi connection. Even in the Spa 24 hours that Zach and I did with the team, I experienced a little bit of blinking, and it was not pleasant over my 6 hours of driving.
And you see Mac close there. We also have Nicholas Paletti pretty close to his teammate Aaron Claybaugh, who just made a mistake in Parabolica, actually.
Yeah, it went a little bit wide, which forces him to slow down and take it more narrow into the straight.
And Paletti using a different livery as well.
Yeah, Paletti, instead of the good old, well, I guess, Rainbow 2012 Galaxy livery like Paul Boyle has, he's back to his old gray and Spotify.
Oh, take a look at Borland and Langenberg.
Here we go.
Oh, okay. I really thought he was going to try to make a move. I do think that Borland is trying to stick behind. If he really wanted to be aggressive, he could have sent one into Roger there, but he lifted again to stay behind.
Yeah,
I mean, they're pulling away from Ackrich, that's for sure. So,
just real quick, here's Jeff Mcdonald.
He was blinked while that happened, but he's off track, losing more time.
It's like a Scary.
Unfortunately.
Oh, Terry Calgary Jr. Yeah, that the blinking finally caught up to him. He got dropped out of the session due to a packet loss.
That'll be not good for him. That's Sasha Kempter in the background there. Who
Patrick Ridley coming up on him there.
Mac Johnson was battling with for a little bit. Here's what happened to him. This looks like the chicane, the second chicane. Ooh, that's Mac Johnson.
Contact?
Looks like Mac Johnson gave him a little love tap there. Other than that, I don't know what would have caused it like that. Maybe.
Oh no, I just went back and looked, and they did not touch. It certainly looked like it from that view. They were actually pretty far separated from each other. I think that Sasha just tried to turn in a little too early, with too much speed.
Either that or some sort of shifting problem. Just absolutely revving that engine up and locking the tires.
Man, those guys are close coming into turn 1. It just really seems like Borland does have the pace to get by if he wanted, but I mean, I don't know. You can't just because someone has more pace doesn't mean you can get by, but it seems like there's been a lot of times where he's had the chance to attack and he's decided to lift and just stay behind for a little bit.
Yeah, it's very interesting. We'll take a look at the blimp view here as we appreciate the guys at the back of the field that make big fields possible. Somebody's got to be back there, and
That's Barnett on Craig. They're side by side in a parabolica.
just because they're in the back doesn't mean they don't have a good time racing. We'll see. Keep an eye on them down into turn 1.
Yeah, I think they went side by side, and I think if Barnett had just gotten the gas a little bit before, he would have had the preferred line, but just a little bit of a loss there, unfortunately. But he's got plenty of racing to catch back up to him. But in that specific scenario, Craig took the early apex, but Barnett didn't counter by doing the late apex.
That's Newbie and Real side by side. Real takes the lead. What happened to Newbie?
He had like a 4-second lead.
Yeah, let's see what happened there.
He lost it in Roja, and it wasn't that bad. I mean, he got in the sand and he had to really hit the brakes. Obviously he only lost a few seconds, but then he made it even worse by almost going wide in Lesmo 1, and that's where he lost the position to De Real.
I'm not seeing that in my my history sheet, but interesting. Here in the background, we can see Zachary Nurnberger, Mark Dillon Jr., and that's Marcus Osborne, all tangled up going into the parabolica, but they'll sort it out by the time they get there. And they are clean through the turn.
Osborne is in 9th, but he's got 18 seconds to get to 7th, unfortunately, and just a couple spots in front of him. So, he's got a long race to make up some gap for sure.
Yes, we still have an hour of race time, so nobody's in a rush.
I don't know. I think by that move that Marcus used to get by Nürburgring there, I think he kind of is in a rush himself.
Well, not everybody's in a rush here, I should say. People like Marcus Osborne and Tony Watson, wherever he is, they may be in a little bit more of a rush. Oh, Marcus Osborne, though, saves it very nicely, but that will cost him the position into the Lesmo 1.
Yeah, I did you see in the E4A on the Discord, Terry says that the Hurricane just killed his power, so now nothing you can do, but that's a huge bummer. Hopefully he stays safe and it's that the power outage isn't too long for him.
Yeah, hopefully he'll well, maybe he won't want to join back after being out for so long, but maybe he can come in and race around, make sure he gets, well, he's got his 5 laps already. Ooh, Mark Dillon Jr. there. I was thinking for the Ironman bonus, which is completing 5 laps of every race in this season.
Yeah, I mean, the drop week thing maybe wasn't explicitly designed for Hurricanes, but it certainly includes Hurricanes. So he's got a drop week. It's not the end of his season for sure.
It certainly does help out. I'm sure he'll be glad that we have it.
Every time I look back over to Langenberg and Borland, they're just bumper to bumper. They're going to the Rozier chicane there back there, and just almost no gap between the two.
Yeah, they're super tight. Did I just see some smoke back there?
I think there may have just been a little bit of gravel kicked up, but yeah, I saw some as well.
before we changed over to Tyler Langenberg and Will Borland. We'll go back Zach Nurnberger and Marcus Osborne here through Curva Grande.
See if they do that position swap again.
Nope. Zach Nurnberger just a little better on
Or
the
I guess
brakes.
they already did the position swap, actually. Sorry.
Yes, Paul Skip, who had, I believe that was him that spun and crashed earlier, is all the way back now in 16th.
Well, he just came out of the pits.
Just came out of the pits in 16th.
So obviously he's not like he's going to, after the cycle is going to be in first, but it does look a little bit worse for him than it was.
Yes. Jeff McDonald
spin
again.
Right. Yeah. Just saw that. Yep. And that's rear wing damage there.
There it is. Into turn 1.
Get rid of Philo. See what happens. Probably hits the sausage curb potentially.
No, just on turning. Oh, I
Interesting.
mean, that's something we've seen a lot with the Mercedes anyways. But,
Annoying way to face though. Took him forever to be able to get it around. Just
Yeah.
facing the opposite direction.
I mean, the Mercedes is very infamous in spinning. I think we've seen this season.
Well, it is very stable. It's just like the one thing, the lift-off oversteer. But I don't even think that was lift-off oversteer. I think that was just trying to turn with too much speed.
That was definitely the turning that did it there. But you can, if we didn't have fixed setups, we would be able to change the amount of diff on and off throttle, which Patrick Ripley would be a great help in setting that up, who is in 10th place now, up 5 positions from where he started.
And if it was open setup, these guys would be running a very different setup than they're running right now, because we're running high downforce, and that's the exact opposite of what you want to run here at Monza.
Yes, very true. I mean, we're in the old 1979 Lotus F1 cars. I was only running 8 seconds faster with an optimal setup. So,
Yeah.
8 seconds difference between a sports car and a purpose-built F1 race car is pretty insane. But here again,
Yeah, I was about to say, I've been watching them this lap, and Borland's been doing like huge lifts. Like he's not even trying going into parabolic. He lifted down halfway down the back straight to just stay behind. And let's see if we can hear this. Yep, he's just gonna lift again. He's
Yeah.
gonna try to make Langenberg payback for what happened last time, where Langenberg was able to make it go that extra lap, and Borland really had to pay for it.
yeah, so we'll see if that will give him the track position on the way out, and does he want the track position? I think.
Langenberg's certainly not driving slow. We're both pulling away from Ackridge quite a lot right now.
Yes, but even if that extra lap does work for Will, does he want that first place position, or does he want to drop back again and then get an extra lap out of the last stint?
I think he wants. He had the pace in that first stint to stay ahead, even with the draft from Langenberg, keeping able to catch up. So I think if Borland is able to be on a different strategy for just a couple laps, so far he's put the pace in where if he can get the lead, he can keep the lead.
Yeah. So hopefully we'll see that. I was gonna say Andrew Neri and Hingley were going at it for a little bit, but Hingley dives into the pits. Ryan Glover, though, with James Kingsbury, rather close. Both in the same class, which most of the on-track battles right now are not in the same class, other than Langenberg and Borland, who are getting extremely close to the Parabolica.
Yeah, definitely looking, after you get past the overall top 7, it's a lot more mixed up than most of the races have been with GTD Pro and AM.
Yeah, we could take a look at our overall standings here. And we'll see a lot of AM drivers mixed in there.
Yeah, it's making things interesting for everybody when just trying not to lose time to people that it doesn't matter if they're in front or behind you.
Similar to right here with Mac Johnson and Marcus Osborne. The two Ferraris, but they're in different classes, and it, just really does not help. Marcus Osborne behind the M driver.
Looks like he's pulling out to let him go through, though. He loses as little time as possible. Zachary Nurnberger behind him did the same thing, although he had to accidentally do it twice because of a incident from Marcus. But, you don't want to, especially when you're the lower of the two classes, quote unquote, you don't want to lose time because you've got battles behind you. It doesn't matter if they go by.
Definitely does not matter. They do not care if you are fighting with somebody in a different class. They just care that they get past you. So, back to Kingsbury with Ryan Glover up ahead.
Oh man,
Ooh.
They got close in that braking zone there.
Yeah, I thought they were going to come together.
Kingsbury just seeming like he's a lot more confident than. Oh, and then what's going on with Glover?
Looks like Glover's going to let him by.
That was weird. Did he have a slowdown from something?
That may just be not wanting to get hit. Maybe he was a little scared after that turn one there.
What? He may have gotten the slowdown in turn one. He did mount that curb quite a lot when I'm looking at it. Interesting, though. Probably shouldn't. If that was what it was, then probably shouldn't have, just slowed down on the racing line, but at least there was no wreck.
Yes, it was kept very clean. And here is
Marcus Osborne almost loses it in Parabolica. What a save there.
our second round of pit stops seem to be coming out now, however.
Osborne probably should have just decided to pit there because he lost all that momentum. But yeah, he got pretty diagonal there in that corner. That was a great save. Do you have that on your? It probably didn't bring up as an incident, but really impressive save by Osborne.
Don't think so, unfortunately, but I'll take your word and we'll give him some praise. So now we're gonna see if Will Borland sitting back all that time, is it gonna pay off? Is Tyler Langenberg gonna have to go into the pits this lap?
He easily could have made a move there if he wanted. But he did not want to.
He's definitely trying to commit now to staying out. We'll see the difference in pit strategies here. Now, Tyler Langenberg, ideally these two will pit on the same lap. Because Langenberg has to go one lap less, and Borland can go one lap more. So, they should be pitting at the same time, which I did not think about earlier.
I will see. I mean, Borland has been doing some heavy lifting, a lot more than I saw Langenberg doing in that first stint. So, I mean, who knows? Maybe he's doing enough over this whole stint to do 16 versus 15. I doubt it, but possibly.
Yeah, we'll keep an eye on them, and we'll wait for their pit stop as we take a look and try to give some appreciation to the guys at the back of the field. Ryan Glover, Don McCloy, going at it through the Lesmos.
Yeah, another example of interclass battling.
It's everywhere on this track today. See, that looks like Christopher Newby's car. That is Christopher Newby's car. That may be that's just from fuel, however, I think.
Yeah, through the Nürnberger has taken the provisional lead for GTDM, but he would likely have to pit this lap, I believe.
Most likely. See, Brad McCombs got 16 laps out of this stint. That's interesting.
Okay, so it is possible.
There's a few cars, Glover, Kingsbury, McAllister, all into the pit lane. Interesting, the Ford, its lights flash left, right.
Yeah, I don't think I've ever... Not enough people drive the Ford for me to have ever noticed that.
Yeah, I've never seen that before. But here's the people to watch coming up to that pit entrance here.
Yeah.
I don't know. You think they'll stay out one more lap? Surely not.
I mean, Langenberg doesn't get to choose. I mean, he's not been able to do any sort of fuel management, but Borland has been lifting a lot. He's
They're
still got to
both
do it,
in.
though. Maybe he'll have a slower, maybe he'll have less time filling up, though. So, interesting to look at when we see them exit the pits here. I'm going to keep an eye on them and see what happens when they come out of their box.
All right, well, we'll head back to Ryan Glover and James Kingsbury as they go on to turn 1 from the pit lane. And Gareth McAllister as well. Kingsbury handling that much nicer, it seems. Carrying a little bit more speed through there. David Levine in that BMW.
Neither car taking tires, by the way.
Being followed by Aaron Claybaugh.
And Borland's out. Borland's out way before Langenberg.
Maybe.
What is going on here? Not even close. Langenberg's still in the pits. And Borland's already out there making his way through turn 1.
That looks like tires.
Is he taking tires? Interesting decision.
It looked like it. I mean, I saw his car shake a little bit when I went to see him. That may have been accidental. We've seen that before with, I think, James Foreman at Daytona.
Let me see if the car drops.
I saw a little shake, so I'm not sure, but it'd be interesting to see.
This is long, isn't it? He doesn't have a black flag from what I can know. Yeah, maybe he accidentally has tires. This seems like such a long pit stop, though. It seems like longer than the tires.
Is there some sort of problem on his end?
He's still there. He is in Florida. Hopefully he's not having issues with internet or, a hurricane as a whole.
I hope not. Hoping, again, everybody in Florida is safe. Aaron Claybaugh, though. Here's what happened to him. That looks like the car of David Levine behind him.
Ooh, just a little tag, I think. Yeah,
David Levine just plowed through there.
Yeah, it could have been a harder contact for sure, but yeah, just totally. He probably didn't even see the braking markers. That's how close he was. Something happened with Tyler Langenberg. Probably outside the sim because his car's still in there.
Well, hopefully everything's all right on his end. We'll look to see what happened later. But here's Zach Nurnberger.
That puts Will Borland at very comfortable. And then what? I guess I was paying attention. Matthias Akrich is back in 6th.
Yes.
Trying to figure out what happened to him.
Possibly took tires or something else. Mark Dunn Jr. and Zach Nurnberger, though.
No,
Right
Akrich
on
actually
the bumper.
crashed in Parabolica. He lost it on entry and then had a tank slapper and crashed into the wall.
Interesting.
So
We
that's
got
why he's lost that time.
all sorts of action unfolding now in this this third stint of the race.
And do we see something happen to Dan Real? Because he's now in 5th for GTD. We just keep missing all this kinds of stuff.
I'm not
Max
seeing
Johnson
anything.
is now in 2nd. Nürnberger in 3rd for GTDM.
I'm not seeing a lot of stuff, but yeah, Zach Nurnberger and Mark Dillon Jr., you could look and see down that straight. They were almost nose to tail there, like doing a little bump drafting.
Real took tires. That's why there. He had no incidents, but he took tires.
That'll do it. Here's Patrick Ripley and Marcus Osborne into the Marcus Osborne always gets me. Patrick Ripley's going to get that exit on him after Marcus Osborne took all of that curb there. Can he hang around the outside? Not really. Lesmo 1 is really, really hard to take that outside line.
Yeah, you can't really be racing.
He's got
through
the
those
exit. He got the exit and the slipstream. I think he'll stick
Ahead,
behind.
they're too wide as well. McCloy and Newby, but those aren't out for position.
He'll stick behind and nail that exit and then look to make it out. There's
Ooh, almost went a little wide there. Patrick Ripley, he actually touched the grass a little bit.
Yeah, I love the
And
view.
going back to the incidents thing, nobody was 0. Nicholas Paletti has 1, but no one was 0.
Interesting. I love the view of the cars coming through Ascari, just slinging into the straight. It's awesome thing to watch.
Yeah, the last half of the Scari, the exit, is really hard in the GT3 cars. In an open wheel car, it really sticks a lot more than these cars do. And it's kind of hard to keep it within the limits on the right side. We've seen a couple drivers lose it trying to do that.
You have indeed. I think Paul Skip was one of them. He's now back up to 11th. Down one spot from where he started, but he's coming back up. He didn't give up. Remember, we have 2 fast repairs in this race. So, it's not the end of the world if you have an incident.
I feel like I just time traveled because I can't believe we're already over an hour in. I could have sworn I just looked at the clock and it was like 20 minutes.
I know this race is passing very, very quickly. We'll most likely take a break pretty soon, but we're going to let this action die down a little bit more before then. Michael Della Sala, what happened to him? Into turn 1, side by side with Dave Ferrara, Dave Ferrara, I believe, as well.
Yep.
Same thing that happened to McDonald.
McDonald, yeah.
Yeah, interesting. That just looks like the
maybe
turn-in.
Peeling around right was probably the better way than peeling around left, though.
Yeah. Just looks like the turn-in got to him there. Here's Kingsbury, and is that Della Sala and maybe Glover? Side by side they go. Ooh, they are tight. Kingsbury's going to come out on top over Della Sala. Almost lost it on exit, though. Here we go. Newbie and McCloy side by side. Not for class, but
yeah, McCloy's basically been pushing. It's interesting. He's basically been pushing Newbie through the last like couple laps, and they've been. Oh, something just happened to Mac Johnson. What's happened to Mac?
I'm not sure what exactly.
Little minor collision in parabolica. He started to oversteer a little bit, and he did hit the wall. Kept the car straight. Really no damage, but that's how he lost that second place spot to both Nürnberger and Dylan.
There's Marcus Osborne looking for that move there on Don McCloy, and Patrick Ripley in the background as well. Ooh. So tight. We see that's Don McCloy weaving and all sorts of tactics to avoid. Look how close that is. That is, wow.
Yeah, that's the leader at AM leading 9th, 8th, 7th for Pro, and they are close.
Take a look at this.
Or I guess 7th, 8th, 9th now. Something happened. Paul Skip hit or something? Wasn't Paul Skip in front of them?
Paul Skip is still in 11th place, but look how close they are. Wow.
Yeah.
Patrick
Can't see
Ripley,
anything.
who started 6 positions lower than where he is now. This is a great.
You've just got to be comfortable sitting behind a car that close, and it takes a while to get there.
This shows how much Patrick is lifting off down that straight. You can see him. He backs off so he can get that run through there, although he may have backed off a little bit too much this time around.
Yeah, not really sure what it was that happened, but Langenberg is back on track. 3 laps down, unfortunately. But yeah, I have to wonder what happened to his race.
Let's see if I can find any information in the Discord server while we watch James Kingsbury and Gareth McAllister there. No,
Yeah, I didn't see anything.
nothing in Discord. Although Terry Calgary Jr. did confirm that he lost power due to the hurricane. Although that may have been confirmed already.
Yeah, right now we got Will Borland very comfortably ahead of Paul Boyle behind him. 12-second gap. Now, last time we said this was last week. Will Borland was on the other end of it, where Brad McCombs had a huge gap, and there's nothing. So anything can happen, and Borland certainly doesn't want to end up on the opposite end of what he was able to benefit from last week.
Yeah. Ooh. Speaking of commentators' curse, there, we watched that live.
That was some netcode there for sure.
Patrick Ripley just disappeared. Where did he go? There he is, getting it spun right back around. Wow, that's really unfortunate. Let's see if we can get a better angle of that.
Yeah, you can see they didn't touch, like they didn't actually touch each other.
He almost could have reversed it and got right back on track, but too many cars coming. That's going to cost him a lot of time. I'm sure he's not happy about that. He was up in 9th. He's now down to 10th. Which
All Skip crashed in front of him.
Yes.
Second Lesmo.
So not as big of a loss as it would have seemed, but still not what you want.
Paul Skip lost it in the second Lesmo, just oversteer. Actually, already on the entry, it wasn't even the exit of Lesmo 2. And his car was just facing the totally wrong way.
And that's what happened to him.
He was stuck on the side of the road for a long time waiting for cars to get him.
Not a lot of damage for him, however. So I guess he'll be happy in that regard. Andrew Nary's trying to make his way through this field to catch up to Gareth McAllister for 14th place in Pro, but he's separated by 2 AM drivers. That is Mr. Ryan Glover and James Kingsbury. And also Michael Della Sala out in front of that whole pack there.
Yeah, that's a mess right there. On the other side
Glover's
of the track,
going
we've
for it
also
though.
got
Through Parabolica on Kingsbury. He's gonna make it work. Is Kingsbury going to pit or something? He seems really tight. Trying to stay. No.
Okay.
Wait. No. Interesting. There they go. Nary in the background. Not managing to make up any places. But Glover maybe on McAllister there. McAllister's much better on the brakes though. No, so Nary made up 1 place overall. Ooh, McAllister a little bit on the throttle there. Nary made up 1 place overall, closer to McAllister, but Kingsbury came out at the bottom end of that.
Side by side
Ooh,
through Ascari.
Net code.
Oh man.
Not a huge deal for either driver, but it's gonna lose him a little bit of time.
Yeah, the battle I wanted to call attention to coming down at Parabolica now. Matthias Ackrich really hounding Aaron Claybon in front. That's for 5th place in GTD Pro. Again, Matthias Ackrich at one point running for most of the race in the podium positions, and during qual at one point had provisional pole through the first 20 minutes or so of the 40-minute session. So he's got pace, but he has a little bit of damage, and Claybon in front of him does as well.
Yeah, I'm sure we'll see him use his fast repair. Well, depending if he's already used one, but I'm sure we'll see him use his fast repair on that last pit stop. And
There are 2, so.
Very true. Use his fast repair and get that sorted out. Get that perfect car back to run the last 30 minutes, 32 minutes of this race.
Christopher Doomby doesn't, after letting Marcus Osborne there get by, does not have as relaxed of a lead as he had a little bit ago in the race. He's only got 2 seconds on. Okay, well that just grew right when I was looking at it, but he had about 2 seconds flat from Nürnberger behind, but McCloy is separating the 2.
Let's see if we can find him. There he is. Don McCloy, that Martini Mercedes.
And then Mark Dillon Jr. is right on the back of Nürnberger, and Johnson is even closer to. Johnson's right on Mark Dillon Jr. going into the second Lesmo.
Yeah, Mac Johnson up into 4th. Starting 5th, I believe. No, he started 4th, so.
Had been in second at one point, though.
Yeah, now Zach Nürnberger takes that title, but he can definitely get it back.
Oh, man, they came close there in the braking zone.
Definitely some great driving tonight, as we can see from just how close they are there. Not so much down the straight, but just lovely to watch. There's Mark Dillon Jr.
Much later on the brakes for Johnson. Oh, he goes way, way too wide, though. A little bit of aero wash from the dirty air in front.
That's going to cost him. That's
he's
Sasha Kempter in the background as well. Flying past. Into the pits he goes. There's Nary and Glover. This is not for position, but it is for track position. Gareth McAllister is up there, and that's what Nary's looking to go.
That was lucky.
But he used a little bit too much curb there. There's Barnett, and that's Hingley and that gold Mercedes.
Ascari's such a great chicane. So long. It's like if you just took a chicane and then you just pulled on both ends, and like There's probably no longer chicanes than Ascari.
Yeah. Ooh, look how squirrely Kingsbury's getting through there. Through Parabolica.
Yeah, I've noticed that a lot when you get some of these cars and some of these drivers when they've got that understeer from the aero wash in front of them. The Parabolica, which is already a little sketchy in the GT3s, becomes a lot tougher.
It is. I mean, I already find it pretty hard.
7/10. Yeah.
7/10, trying to bring that Lamborghini up and to take his first win of the season.
I believe he's the only Lamborghini in the whole field between both classes.
Let me take a second here. He is the only Lamborghini. I think he's trying to carry them to the manufacturer's title, but
and I may be eliminating the chance of me sponsored by Lamborghini in the future, but I will say that I hate the sound of the Lamborghini. I think the engine sounds horrible. So I've lost a potential sponsorship with them, but it looks cool. I hate the sound of it. So I don't want to go on board with Nürburgring for this race.
If I remember correctly, though, the Lamborghini is one of the better in the straight line, or maybe that's the McLaren, but one of the better ones in the straight line.
And no one running the McLaren for this one, at least.
McLaren on the bench, on the back burner today.
Yeah, at least we have the one Ford.
The one Ford, Gareth McAllister, who has run the Ford every race he's participated in this season. And even better, I think, with just that stock blue livery, really embracing the Ford origins.
Oh yeah, the battle I called attention to earlier. Ackrich still right on Claybon, and Nürnberger, as we've just seen develop on newbie for the GTDM.
This is Neri.
I would say that. Yeah, he's right on McAllister there. McAllister's been pretty good in the braking into at least turn 1 that we've seen so far.
See, going in the braking zone, looking for about the 150 almost. That's Dave Ferrara up ahead. It's kind of getting in the way of Neri, but not too much.
Or it's probably letting them both down.
Ooh! Net code once again.
Yeah, Ferrari's got some damage, you can tell on the front.
This is Nürnberger on newbie for the lead.
Wow, yeah.
Oh,
Nothing doing on the outside there, but Nürnberger had to lift there for a second.
I think he still might have it. Wow.
He's going to have to be brave on the brakes here. He's going to take the inside. That's really what you want. I'm interested that Newbie gave that to him.
Yeah, Don McCloy in the background lurking
Similar on the brakes
as well. He's not.
Nürnberger can seal off the exit. Yeah, he does there. So yeah,
that's his.
Once he felt comfortable, he moved out. Now he's going to have less speed. This is just going back and forth. Really, Nürnberger's going to hope that McCloy doesn't mess this up. He's going to go 3 wide, McCloy.
I love watching McCloy go back and forth in the background there.
Okay.
Newbie chose the right line, it looks like, though.
Trying to switch back.
He will, he'll remain in first after the first chicane, using that.
A little bit of wheel spin on the exit, though.
Extra speed. Yeah, I mean,
yeah, we got to keep an eye on this. This can definitely go in the Rocha.
This is a wonderful battle.
You know, only 25 minutes left in the race. I mean, things are gonna start getting a little more urgent. Can't do anything to Lesmo. As much as you want to, it's just nothing you can do to race through there.
Not really. It's so tight, and the straights really make it hard to commit to an alternate line. But Don McCloy still lurking in the background. If he gets past Zach Nürnberger into Ascari here, that could cause trouble. Nürnberger can't really put a move on Newbie when
eventually Nürnberger has to make a decision too if he thinks McCloy's fast enough to get by both of them, to just try to lose the least amount of time between him and Newbie.
Yeah, try to let him by. Yeah. Here's how the pit strategy looks. It's mostly equal around everybody. Paul Boyle is kind of silently snuck up into second. He's up 6 places. Brad McCombs is up 6 places, and Aaron Claybaugh up 6 places. That's Zachary Nürnberger with problems, though. He's got him and Newbie came together.
Sasha Kempter is also going to pass him there.
Newbie was really, really early on the brakes there.
But into the pit lane, this should be their final pit stop of the night. Mark Dillon Jr. follows them as well. They seem to be the only people pitting.
Yeah, I mean, I think that they both did it for fear of any damage that they may have had.
Very possible. But Mark Dillon Jr. too, he wasn't in that at all.
A little bit slow out of his box, Nürnberger, but I think that Newbie may have... I think Newbie's taking tires.
Interesting.
Whether he's meant to or not, I feel like he probably didn't mean to, because I think that pit was emergency after getting that collision.
Yeah, that was just...
And now he's well behind.
Last minute. Unfortunate for Newbie. What looked so good for him. I mean, this is how James Foreman lost the lead at Daytona that gifted Newbie the win. Maybe this is going to be what gifts Mark Dillon Jr. Maybe. He's always my wild card pick. He is, but Mark Dillon Jr. is not too far back, and we saw him catching up by the end there. So Mark Dillon Jr. is always my wild card pick for the night because he can show up with no practice and win.
We currently got Ray Allen Foreman for GTD AM as the leaders, but they both have to make another pit that the couple drivers behind them don't have to. Yeah, wow, Newbie even came out behind, down all the way down in 7th behind De La Sala and Glover.
Here's
I don't
Newbie.
think that was, I doubt that was on purpose. No reason you would take tires for 20 minutes to go in the race, so that's just one of those sim racing things, you know?
Yep. It's
Wouldn't happen in real life.
It's kind of where you need a spotter to I mean, it's kind of a silly idea, but you need a spotter to make sure everything is set up perfectly. It's so important in team endurance races. We try to always leave somebody to spot. Although, as Zach knows, and as I knew, sometimes you get left alone.
Frequently. Yeah, no, it's definitely an underrated aspect, or something that, like, you know, gets forgotten, is that these drivers have to do their own strategy. They have to set up their own pit stops. They have to monitor gaps in front and behind, and they have to do this all while racing. In real life, they don't have to do any of that. They've maybe given advice on what they should do strategy-wise, but they got, you know, paid employees doing that work for them.
Yeah, they just got to drive the car into the pits and hope to not hit the front jack man. But that's Neri on McAllister into turn 1. This is 4 position. As Neri's just parking on the apex. He's really slowing McAllister down there. But it works very nicely, and he's ahead. That'll put him up 1 position. Neri now in 11th place. That's Newbie with Kingsbury.
You know, some incidents that have happened in front of him and stuff like that. Marcus Osborne is moved his way up to, what was that, 6th? Yeah, 6th place. So had a lot of work to do after starting from the back and had a couple incidents of his own. But 6th place is a pretty good recovery for starting from the back of a 30-man field.
Yeah, he started from the back of the 30-man field, like you said. He qualified 7th, though. So, it reminds me
About
of...
where he should be, yeah.
Oh, Gareth McAllister. What's happened here? He was right next to Neri there. This looks like the Lesmo, second Lesmo, into the top. Ooh.
There was
just
like 4 times
barely.
there.
So close. That's
4
going
times
to
there.
catch
Oh,
Newbie.
Newbie.
Oh, Newbie and Kingsbury. That's Ferrara in the background. And Tony Watson is back. Did he ever leave? Tony Watson is still there. I'm getting everything mixed up here. Kingsbury toes. Real is in the pits.
Newbie in the pit.
So unfortunate.
As if it couldn't have got worse for him, you know. Man, that just it went from Newbie having the lead to, you know, losing it on probably a mistake on the pit stop to now having to pit for damage. That's really rough.
That is the mangled Ford GT of Gareth McAllister there. As Tony Watson looks to make a move on the back marker of Dave Ferrara. That's not for position. Oh, uncharacteristic of Tony there.
Yeah, Dave's had a couple incidents of his own this race, not been his favorite race. I'm sure he's had pace in some other races before, but a couple laps down on this one, unfortunately.
There's the
Oh, that's not even driving straight.
crab walking
Oh, wow.
car of Gareth McAllister into Parabolica. He's gonna have a spin.
That might have been a meatball, maybe, you know?
Oh, surely.
Yeah, I mean, again, Will Borland, 16 seconds ahead. He's pulled out even more of a gap on Paul Boyle. Again, Paul Boyle, who has quietly made his way up to second with play in third. Also, Mac Johnson just disconnected. We must have missed something. He was fighting for, like, third. What happened to him? Let me try and find this.
I'm not sure.
He goes into the pits. Why did he? Oh, I think. Let me try to
Maybe.
get a look at this. I think that he went in the pits and accidentally took tires. I think that he quit because of that.
Maybe he's just after that he's a little bit too uncomfortable sitting on the ground, and he said, "I'm done with this."
Yeah, I mean, he had a spin in turn one of his lap, but then he came into the pits, and then I see that his car jacked up for tires, and then before even exiting the pits, he just quit out. So
That's
I think maybe
Nürburgring,
he didn't mean to take the tires.
Very possible. Looks like Nürnberger right now is going to have the net lead once James Foreman pits. Let's take a look.
Yeah, Dylan not far behind from him.
No, James Foreman up 9 positions from where he started.
Borland into the pits.
So let's see. James Foreman looks to be on the same strategy as everybody, though, so he may not have to pit again. Is he in the net lead right now? The overall lead, I guess, really. Not net lead, but not overall. You know what I mean.
No, because, I mean, Foreman still has to make that pit, just like Borland just did there.
Oh, yes, okay, never mind. It's a
Yeah, he's
4
probably only a
stint.
lap or two from it.
It's a 4 stint, not a 3 stint. It's a 3 stop. That's where my confusion came from. Sasha Kempter, what happened to Kempter? Let's see.
Yeah, he actually left the session. He got kicked out because of packet loss, and then was able to rejoin. He unfortunately was another driver who got kicked, and he's in Florida as well. So
That must have been it.
Florida drivers having some problems. Probably power, internet. It's not going real great over there.
Yeah, I'm sure. I mean, it's not every day that you see a Category 5 hurricane down there. Although it is Florida, so anything can happen.
Yeah, Will Borland had a normal stop. Didn't take tires, no mistakes. Dealing with some traffic here with Daniel Hingley, but should be fine to easily hold first place once Paul Boyle has to make his stop.
Yes, I would hope that he can. I don't want to give him the curse, though, so we're not going to talk about him as we did Brad McCombs last week.
Don McCloy has really found himself around the GTD Am leaders frequently, and Nürnberger's probably very happy to have him between him and Mark. A little bit of a cushion so that he can hold the defense a little bit better.
Cushion is always really good, but this is for position here. No cushion. That is Marcus Osborne and David Levine. Daniel Barnett just lurking in the background. He's a lap down.
Yeah, he's going to be able to send it in the scar there.
Here he goes.
Yeah, he's just letting him. Huh?
David Levine.
Levine was much earlier on the brakes, but
Not wanting to get
still
caught
tried
up.
to fight it.
He fought it, but he didn't fight it hard. He definitely could have been a lot more aggressive. I think he knows 15 minutes. Just keep it on track. Because you'll get a lot more points for 8th than you will for last, as compared to
Ooh,
7th.
I don't know if you can tell from that camera there. He almost lost it. He almost cursed him there. He almost lost it in Parabolica. You could hear some tire squeal as he started to oversteer.
I'm very good at cursing people, so
why he probably lost a little bit of momentum here coming into the braking zone. But
Look at
yeah,
the
it does look
overspeed.
Like that BMW. Yeah, it does look like the BMW is certainly better top speed. At least it looked like it.
Yeah, he's got it under braking too. Wow. But getting a little squirrely on exit, he can't really do everything he wanted with it. This is Don McCloy down in 9th of Pro, following Zach Nurnberger, our leader.
Much smoother on the wheel there.
Mark Dillon Jr., the man that I said could still win, into turn 1. This is just behind that camera we were just following. Into the sand. No, not even. Just too much
didn't
power.
get to it at that point. Yeah. A lot worse could happen, but yeah, that kills his chance for first probably.
I mean, never say never, but it's definitely not looking as good as it was. Tony Watson on James Foreman, not for position, but for track position, overall position.
Yeah, Watson in 10th, you know, obviously he's been able to benefit from some incidents and some stuff that's happened in front of him, but he, just like Osborne, had to start from the back. And it's a track like this, it's surprisingly hard to get around all that traffic.
Yeah, you'd think these long straights provide like easy overtaking, but all of the corner, like all but 2 of the corners are chicanes. So unless you're right behind, it's hard to overtake.
And then furthermore, the tire wear is just not a story. So you're not usually going to be able to preserve your tires so much that it's going to change the game. We've seen some cars get a little loose here at the end, but I mean it's been 90 minutes, you know.
Very typical. I remember I'm not sure if we go to Hungary this season, but that's one of those tire tracks where it really makes a difference. I remember the race before I was invited to Pony Express, the endurance team that we have here. JR Cop was driving around with a 0% flat tire there. After
I would not be yeah, at Hungary. Yeah, I crashed out early in that race. I can tell you, I would not be surprised if Hungary is never raced again in E4A ever.
it was a long race, that is for sure.
That's the vibe.
I think
we have an incident here, or is this this replay? Whoa.
Straight on for newbie.
He decided early there that he wasn't going to make that, I guess.
Yeah. I remember.
So,
go ahead.
Yeah, I was just looking at the drivers to see who is in there for the safety point bonuses. It's not very many. The drivers we're looking at with that still are in the safety point bonus range: Tony Watson, Mark Dillon Jr., Ryan Glover, David Levine, Christopher Craig, Will Borland, James Foreman, Nick Pletty. That's it. Everyone else has more than 8 incidents or is not within 1 lap of the lead lap.
So obviously mine is a little bit off there, with Brad McCombs having 36 incidents.
Yeah, I really wonder what that's. I'm very curious to see what that is counting. And like Foreman down at 3. I mean, Foreman does only have 2 incidents for real, but yeah, I don't know. I don't know. That's. I don't think actually. By the way, I don't think that we've had no penalties though. And actually, that may have been what happened to Mac Johnson. I see that he has 26 minutes. He may have gotten that drive-through and then quit because he had the incident limit. I'm pretty surprised to see the track limits not causing us many drive-throughs. We saw a lot at Long Beach, and that wasn't track limit. That was like just collisions and hitting the wall and stuff. But drivers are handling it better this race, I guess.
Yeah, I'm surprised nobody's got any drive-throughs. Honestly, I'm hoping for somebody to get a few of them, because I still hold the record for most drive-throughs in 2 laps, which is like 3 drive-throughs. That happened at Red Bull Ring. Actually, the first drive-through was caused by Zach Purcell, my co-host.
I don't know if I would say caused.
It was caused with.
Yeah, I'll say that one. I still got safety points in that race. So.
Yeah, I didn't. That was my best ever race until I think I was running like 5th, and that was the first of my
string of races where I just found unreal pace compared to what I was used to. And then, of course, I ended with 2 drive-thrus in a row, or 3 drive-thrus in a row. And then I think the next race after that was Daytona, where I was 3rd, and then I spun it in the pit lane.
Classic.
Classic me.
Yeah, looking at the incidents, we do have some drivers that we do have really high in the incident limit that should be worried about potentially getting a drive-through late in this race. If Jeff McDonald, Aaron Claybaugh, Christopher Newby, Daniel Hingley, and Don McCloy, those are the drivers that have the most. Actually, interestingly, Zachary Nurnberger's at 16. So that's still a little bit away from getting the penalty, but, I mean, when you're in first place, it's a little bit scary.
It definitely is. And, I don't know, Zach has almost a 6-second gap with only 9 minutes to go. You think he'll be just kind of backing off and strolling around, or you think he's still going to be all the way foot to the floor?
That's the thing, though, is a lot of times when you do back off and, like, try to take it easy, that's when you make more mistakes. It's so easy. It seems counterintuitive, but it's just when you get out of the rhythm that you'd been in for the last, hour plus, when you start trying to drive differently, that's when you make mistakes, even if you're supposedly taking it easy.
Yeah, here's Paul Boyle being chased down by Brad McCombs.
Wow, yeah. I don't know how they weren't close before.
Paul Boyle took a lot of curb in Ascari, and that's going to cost him. Brad's got the inside line. We saw that work for Zach Nurnberger.
Easy pass there, yeah.
Until I believe that was Newby had the overspeed with the wider line. So interesting to see who's going to come out on top here. We know the BMW has a really, really good straight line speed, but Brad McCombs all the way over to the right side.
Are they in the same pit strategy? I feel like I haven't seen Brad McCombs being in the conversation.
Yeah, here it is.
It was Coletti in 3rd.
Brad McCombs pit 2 laps before Paul Boyle, but they were both in the pit window. Brad McCombs is going to have that
wow, yeah.
down. Let's take a look at the
Ooh,
Delta.
He got it a little bit, yeah. He's got to be worried about Dave Farrar in front, but I think Farrar's probably going to let him by.
Most likely. This is what it looks like over the past 5 laps. Obviously, that's part of the pits, but looks like, well, I guess it's not super easy to read with that scale, but they came out pretty close to each other on track after the pits had emptied out. I think Paul Boyle got in the sand there a little bit and had to correct himself and head over to the right side of the track. That's why he's all the way over there. Don McCloy and Zach Nurnberger are pretty close, but again, not for position.
Yeah, like I said, McCloy's been really hanging around the GTD lead for pretty much the entire race.
He's right on par with them there. Brad McCombs, interestingly, he just kind of came out of nowhere and is taking that second place.
I just tried to go back in time to see if I can figure out. We weren't talking. He wasn't even in 3rd, so I have no idea what happened. But he's in 2nd now. I'm curious. Where are we looking for, or where are we looking at on fastest laps now that we're closing in on the end of this race?
Yeah,
we haven't touched on that yet.
Fastest laps. Here's our fastest laps. Will Borland takes the fastest lap in GTD Pro, and in GTD Am. Well, they're not on the scoreboard, that's for sure. Not on the scoreboard right now. Let's see if we can find it.
Oh, I saw it for a second there.
Jeff McDonald.
49.5. Wow, that's very competitive for the GTD Am class for sure. Only a couple drivers even below that 150 mark.
Yeah, this is Jeff. He was up there leading the race in 2nd place, 3rd place. Qualified on pole, but hasn't worked out for him today. He's down in 12th place in class. This is Christopher Craig. I haven't seen much of him in this race, but he's driving a solid race down in 7th. And
yeah, he spent a good amount of it around like the 10 mark. So yeah, 7th place is a good gain of some positions for the last part of this race.
And by the way, here is David Levine and Paul Skip. Another really, really close battle here. Paul Skip's going to have that speed down the straight in the slipstream. Take a look at what he sees. You really see how much faster he's going into turn 1. He's later on the brakes,
but he's almost too
just
late.
enough.
But he makes it through. You can see the rear view mirrors there. Nice move by Paul Skip, and a great angle to watch it from.
Yeah, this will be a frustrating race to have had a couple incidents for Paul, just because this is one that, you know, outside of the hands of some of the other drivers, could have really made some gains on his competitors, Terry Cocker Jr., Tyler Langenberg, Patrick Ripley, guys who, you know, had issues in their race through, you know, many different reasons. But those are the ones you really want to try to capitalize on. It sucks when you're a part of that group.
Yeah, I mean, other than those incidents, he's had some pace today. That's for sure. That's Brad McCombs in the background, by the way. Going into this first chicane, coming up to catch the 8th place of GTD Am. As, wow, they are close. Christopher Craig and Daniel Hingley.
Poor position, yeah. That's late in the race, but that's for 7th place.
Contact from Hingley, losing out on that one.
Yeah, I think Craig had the right to kind of just claim that corner there based on where he was at.
Yeah, I'd say that nobody really lost out, but if you had to assign it, it would be to Hingley. But David Levine, not happy losing out last lap, so he's going to try to get, but he's super wide through Parabolica. That's going to lose him a lot of time. I don't think he'll have the slipstream down the straight, or he won't have enough slipstream.
The Audi seems to be pretty good in a straight line. We certainly saw it from Brad McCombs. Doesn't surprise me. I mean, like, that was the choice from Patrick Ripley at Daytona, another track that's very high-speed focused.
I mean, it's definitely one of the fastest cars in GT3 if you can drive it correctly. I know that is one of the main picks of Max Verstappen for most events. And he's like 10,000 iRating or something stupid like that.
So I'm seeing here in the Discord, Mac says, or Mac, also known as PointExpressRacing.com, said that he got a drive-through like I had expected when I was looking at the incidents there, and he did the drive-through, but it didn't count it, and they made him do it again. I think I know why, because he actually stopped in his box, and as a drive-through you have to just exclusively drive through. You can't stop in your pit. So I think that may have been what happened there, but yeah, just not a fun way to have your race end, that's for sure.
No, but he almost beat my record of the most drive-throughs there. Just for a second I thought maybe.
Right.
But Daniel Hingley has caught back up to Christopher Craig as Christopher Newby enters the pit lane.
You know, and to give some credit for the pace that, you know, McCombs is putting in late in this race, he's pulled out quite a lot of a gap from Paul Boyle. He's actually caught up to Borland, who, you know, it's late in the race. We're not actually talking about McCombs catching up to Borland for the win, but you know, McCombs should have had the win last week. I think. I mean, you know, the Discord gave him the unofficial driver of the week, but he'll certainly be happy to still pull out a second in this race. Will Borland's he's coming around Parabolica. He's gonna get the white flag here.
There he is. It looks like he's got a little bit of damage. Not sure where he picked that up from, but we'll see the white flag flying maybe today. No, he won't. I don't know why we don't get to see it, but the white flag is technically out, and we're entering the last lap.
At least this one we know, you know.
Yes.
Logically. Ackrich, though, certainly making this a race to the end with Paletti. He's got a whole lap to do it to this straight, and it's under 5/10.
Yeah, we'll have to see. I mean, we also had Daniel Hingley and Christopher Craig down there, but Ackrich is much closer to Newby than Craig is to Hingley. So
he's got a lot of speed. He's gonna be ahead coming into the turn here.
Look at that.
The advantage.
Into the last lap.
Are they even driving the same car? He had so much more speed.
Yeah, it's Ooh!
Paletti doesn't have damage.
That was an interesting noise, but Ackrich takes a lot of curb there. Gets the move done. He's up into 4th. Can he hold it for the rest of the lap, though?
I mean, he defended in the, he passed in the hardest part. If he can get past Roja, I mean, it's highly likely that he'll finish the race in that 4th place position. Yeah, he keeps it. It'd be very difficult for Paletti to make that position back, with the gap that has kind of appeared now.
As they go through part where we're not going to see much action from him, Christopher Craig had an incident in the Lesmo and almost took out Will Borland. So that's going to end the battle between him and Mr. Hingley. But yeah.
Actually, he's still ahead of Hingley.
Oh, he is. Maybe it was the other way around. I'm not sure. Maybe Hingley had an issue as well. I'm not sure, but Sasha Kempter had an accident.
Borland crosses the line for the win. Easy win for him. 14 seconds ahead of Brad McCombs in 2nd.
There
really
you
no
go.
Stress for him.
Your winner in GTD Pro. Here.
Paul Boyle with a really quiet podium too.
Yeah, Paul Boyle just kind of snuck up on there. Didn't get a lot of mention today, but great race from him. Securing that 3rd place in GTD Pro. Zach Nurenberger, it's a look. I'm just gonna let it play out.
So you don't feel like cursing him?
I don't
If
know.
he doesn't crash here in the final corner, Zachary Nurenberger will take the win for GTDM.
There he goes. He can get back on the power. Zachary Nurenberger, after a few weeks since his last win, first of the season, flashes his lights as he crosses the line to take victory in GTD Am at Monza.
And for the Lamborghini, getting the win.
But look at this. Paul Skip and David Levine into Parabolica on the last lap. This is for 10th place.
Yep, Skip's going to have it.
Skip takes it. Just slightly edges him out. Here's Jeff McDonald. Around there. Paul Skip, David Levine, Christopher Newby is right next to him too. Paul Skip with that little twitch there. Wow. I think he let go of his wheel. And that's going to be most of our finishers tonight. We have Andrew Neri still out on track, going through Parabolica now, along with Ryan Glover right behind him.
Will Borland taking his entire parade lap.
Oh, and he loses it at the end. But a wonderful win from Will Borland. That's 2 in a row for him. And a well-deserved win after a win drought. Ooh, who's going to get this spot? It's going to be Ryan. So let's take a look at how our race stacks up. Take a look at GTD Pro first. Will Borland takes the win by almost 15 seconds, earning 49 points tonight. Followed by Brad McCombs, Paul Boyle with that silent podium, Matthias Ackrich, Nick Paletti, Marcus Osborne, Aaron Claybaugh, Don McCloy, Tony Watson, Paul Skip, David Levine, Andrew Neri, Sasha Kempter, Tyler Langenberg, who was looking good for the win but had some issues on his end, Gareth McAllister, Adrian Vahil, Patrick Ripley, and Terry Cowger Jr. Is that it? That's it for GTD Pro.
Then our GTD-AM results. Winner for today, Zach Nurenberger, followed by Dan Real, and rounding out the podium, Mark Dillon Jr. Rest of the results, you got James Foreman, followed by Michael Della Sala, Ryan Glover, Christopher Craig, Daniel Hingley, Daniel Barnett, Christopher Newby, James Kingsbury, Jeff McDonald, Dave Ferrara, Mac Johnson, and Steven Shepard, who was not able to race.
And what a race that was. We're going to head into some interviews pretty soon and hear from our podium drivers.
For GTD-AM, Mark Dillon Jr. Mark, you getting me in the booth?
Yeah, yep.
Well, that was a pretty clean race run by you for the most part. I see that you did just at the very end get bumped out of the the safety point, but how do you think that race went for you overall?
Very slow, very boring. I did not enjoy it. I have no idea how I ended up on the podium, but I did manage to go off track in the final quarter to lose 3 safety points.
Oh wow.
Yeah, I didn't enjoy that track at all, but can't complain about a podium.
Yeah, I know the track can sometimes be a processional with cars just drafting off each other. You said you didn't expect a podium. At what point do you think that you saw that podium chance opening up? Was it pretty late? I mean, obviously Christopher Newby had some sort of issue with his pit stop, which was able to bump all you guys up, and Mac Johnson had a tough race. But at what point did you think you were seeing a podium come?
Yeah, it wasn't until me, Zach, and Chris all pitted at the same time, but Chris didn't leave pit road. So I knew Daniel Real was going to catch me. He was way faster. So I was just trying to stay ahead of Foreman for a podium. And yeah, for some reason, I just went too hot into the final corner of the race, pushed up into the green paint, and got a 9 hit. Got hit 9X. So
Yeah, from my count, I think only 4 drivers in the entire field between both classes got any points today. So, it's tough to lose on that one, but not many other people were able to get it. So next week we have Spa, which I believe is a night to day. Let me double check.
it is
Is a
the only one of the season.
night to day. That should be a fun little twist to it. Is Spa a track that, I mean, obviously you've done a lot of endurance events, so are you pretty comfortable with Spa?
I am. I feel like I'm pretty good at Spa. But it'll be interesting to see who can survive the darkness and make it to the daylight.
Yeah, it'll be fun having that for the start of the race. Good luck with next week. Spa's always an important race, but I think that you've got a podium in almost every race so far this season, and with Newbie being your main competitor, he had a little bit of a rough race near the end, so things going pretty well for the season, and I hope you look to continue that progress next week.
Yeah, we'll try. Thanks, guys.
Yep, you have a good night. All right. Gonna pull in our second place runner from GTD AM, Dale Real. Dale, you getting me in the booth? Hearing me, Daniel? Might be having some issues on his end. Let me put him back away. We'll see if we can try to get an interview from him later. I'll get our GTD AM winner, Zach Nurnberger. Zach, you getting me in the booth?
Hello.
Hey, Zach.
All
Well,
right.
that's a win. It's been a little bit since your last win. I think in you had GT4, of course, but since your last GT3 win, it's been a little bit. At what point did you see the win actually coming? You were making your way up through the field slowly. Did you ever think that you were going to get the win until the very end?
Looking up, I think at one point it was like Daniel Real, newbie, you know, all the normal criminals, and then there's like a big gap. And then it was me, Mac, and Mark. I know we're all hanging in there, and Mac had some damage, and me and Mark were there. And then I just kept slowly looking up, like pit stop after pit stop, noticing just like one less person was there. And I was just like, who knows? Maybe if I just just keep it up, uh, everyone will disappear. And I guess that's what happened. I'm not really too sure. Apologies to Chris Newby. I'm not sure if you guys caught it. Got to the back in Parabolica, and I'm not sure what happened to him. He had a long pit stop, but yeah, it was just kind of a slugfest. I don't think I ever ran a sub 50 all race, but
I mean,
yeah.
I think only 3 drivers in GTDM ever even did one sub 50. So
Okay, well maybe that wasn't
you'd
too
be in
bad
a
then.
yeah, you'd be in an elite group to do it once. I believe that what happened was you and Newbie got into each other in Parabolica. You both pit, but I think that he accidentally left tires on because he took all 4 tires, and that's why his stop was so slow.
Oh, that would make a lot of sense. But yeah, really, again, apologies to Chris. That's not the way I wanted to make that move. I had a lot of extra speed on him. I think he was struggling with the tires, but that's not the way I want to race him. But
Did you take any tires during that race?
I did not. But a lot of my teammates will notice will know I'm the weird guy that like goes faster on 40% tires than he does on 100. So I actually felt like my tire temperatures actually cooled down. I think after the first stint, I think they're at like 211 on the front left. I think I finished the race on only 180. So I think once I kind of got in the groove and drove the car, it wasn't that bad. My main struggle really was the traction control. I was complaining to Mark all race, coming out of the bus stops or the chicanes
Yeah,
rather.
Ray Philo especially.
Yeah, the TC was just kicking on so bad, and it took me like a good 45 minutes to really like figure out how to like redrive the car with my traction control issues. And Mark said he wasn't having that, so I don't know, maybe it's a Lamborghini deal. But yeah, that was actually probably my biggest struggle was the traction control more than the tires.
Did you ever get to any worrying about the incident points? I see you at 18 there. So
Yeah, I didn't realize they were climbing up like that. I think I got a bunch of like just like 4X's where you don't actually have any damage kind of thing. I think me and Mac touched a couple times, and it's just I didn't really realize I had them on. And I looked, and I was like, "Oh crap!" Just like one random car come out of the pits, and then the final couple laps. So yeah, I was definitely sweating more than I should have.
yeah, I mean, essentially nobody really came out with any bonus points. There's only a handful of drivers that did. But coming into this race, you were fourth place, really close to Daniel Hingley behind, but you had a bit of a gap to Mark Dillon Jr. in front. Um, Now, Dillon Jr. and James Foreman, you finished quite a bit ahead, so you're going to be able to make pretty good inroads on the championship now that you've had that result. With Spa next week, is that one that you think you'll do well at?
Yeah, definitely. I mean, in regards to the points too, you got to remember there's 4 drop weeks, so you know, one bad race can always be dropped. But if they don't have any of those, then there's still nothing bad to drop. So you'll take them where you can get them. But Spa is definitely it's definitely one of my stronger tracks. I think it's going to be a lot of incidents as per usual. So um, this is one of those races where this is what I always set out to do is to just kind of just be consistent, not always the fastest guy. And it finally worked out. And I think hopefully if I can do that spot, it should have some similar results.
Yeah, tracks aren't too dissimilar. Good luck with next week. You had a couple race. You missed Long Beach. Not Nürburgring didn't go exactly how you wanted, but
Yeah,
hopefully
we
this
don't
can be
talk
this.
about that.
Yeah, hopefully this can be start of a good run.
Yeah, we started off good. Had a little hiccup, but there's no reason why we can't keep it up. And had some good clean racing. And thanks everyone for coming out.
Thank you very much. You have a good night.
Have a good one.
All right. I don't know if Daniel Ray's ready yet, so I'm going to go ahead and go for the third place finisher for GTD Pro, which is Paul Boyle. Paul, you getting me in the booth?
Loud and clear.
So you got in the podium, which I believe that's your first podium for GT Pro this season, correct?
Correct, yeah.
Yeah, I think you have to be pretty happy with how that race shook out. There was definitely a lot of craziness going on with pit stops and stuff. At what point did you start to see that podium as a realistic finishing spot?
Unfortunately, it probably comes at the expense of Tyler Langenberg's disconnection. Or he had to drop out due to a fire drill, as he says. So when he went, and I was net P2 at the time, and only had Brad closing me down, it was a case of I felt like that position was always going to be inevitable, but the podium was then definitely on.
Yeah, I mean, you started the race in eighth, and you pretty quietly, well, at least from the broadcast point of view, pretty quietly moved your way up to where we started to notice you there in second all of a sudden. It was a race where a lot of drivers were having issues with incident points, and even though you were at 10, you're actually on the lower spectrum, probably like the lower like eight or so drivers. What were you doing to minimize that incident point loss?
Genuinely, I've got to put that all down to my most recent investment. I finally made the jump up to a direct drive wheel, and I've noticed it helped tremendously in my consistency. I had it for Nürburgring, but unfortunately, I don't consider that a full-length race. I sat half of it out in tows and whatnot, but this is my first full-length race with it, and man, my arms are tired.
Yeah, that's a yeah. That was something that Tom actually noticed right when you crossed the line. That you just like let go of the wheel. That's an impressive, pretty quick, familiarization with your equipment. Given that was such a recent switch, usually have a good amount of time where you're off the pace. But next week we have Spa. I know it's one that you've done plenty of times. How do you think that you're going to compete, with the field next week?
Unfortunately, I'm actually away on duty. I'm caddying for a friend in a golf tournament, so I'm not actually going to be behind the wheel at Spa. Unfortunately, I'll
Oh,
be
that is a
definitely
bummer.
tuning in from the French waters, though.
Well, I'm happy for you to tune in as well, but we'll definitely miss you in the race. But this was, although this was your first podium for the season, you have had a couple good points positions, just outside of the podium. Currently coming into the race, you were in 7th, but you're about to pop up to, I think, 4th place in the standings if I'm looking at it right now.
Nice. Yes, no, it's
So
one of those things. I've always been pleased with my consistency and being able to remain in the top half of the field. I always just try and stay clean and hope that pays dividends, and so far it seems to be doing the trick.
yeah, the drop week next week won't kill you, and I think that you'll still be able to compete, pretty well for these top positions in E4A, especially with the new wheel, which apparently has worked out pretty well for you. So won't see you next week, but I assume that we will be seeing you the week following.
That's the plan. I'll see you then.
Bathurst, good luck there, man. Have a good night. All right, gonna bring in our second place position, Brad McCombs. Brad, get me in the booth. Get me up here, Brad.
I'm here.
Awesome. That was, you started the race in 10th place. Do you feel that was did qualifying just not go how you wanted, or did you just kind of develop that pace throughout the race?
I don't know. I think I was running like a second slower than I was running in practice, like throughout the week. I really didn't expect to get podium, but I don't think my pace was that fast either. I was just, you know, trying to keep it as steady as possible. And when everybody made mistakes, I kind of got a place here and there.
Yeah, you had some of the least incidents in the field. I mean, incident points were certainly a big issue for some drivers. And for the most part, I can't really remember you getting into any big incidents, no crashes or anything. So ran that race really clean, and that was certainly key to making up the podium. Your pace that you had at the end, do you think that you just like saved to the tires better than most? Because you came flying up on Paul Boyle.
Oh yeah, definitely. I think I heard a couple people talking like they had 60% at the second to last pit stop, and I had over 80. So I
Wow.
started pushing a little harder.
Yeah, it not many drivers. I mean, you were also catching up to Will Borland in first. Not really many drivers were putting in that pace that late into the race. It's a little bit of a redemption after last week. I think you
Oh,
know you were voted driver of the week, but unfortunately, I do feel that I cursed you. It happened right when I was about to say something, so I apologize for cursing you last week. But second place has to
it's
still feel good for this one.
it's all good. It was a miscommunication. It was a newer driver last week, and I saw him go to the left. He didn't know I was already on his right, and he moved to the right, thinking it would be better for me, which it would have been, but I was already on the right. Yeah, it hurt, but it happens.
Yeah, a lot of things you can't control, unfortunately.
Mhm.
But with this second place, you're going to move your way up a really competitive field that we have for GTD Pro. Next week, we have Spa, which is actually going to be a night to day race. How do you feel about your chances at that one?
I'm pretty good with Spa. Hopefully, it could be the same like this week. Just stay steady and pick them off.
Yeah, I think we'll see a lot of accidents. We'll see a lot of incident points. But good luck to keep that momentum going for next week.
Cool. Thank you.
You have a good night.
You too.
All right, gonna bring in our race winner, Will Borland. Will, you getting me at the booth?
Yeah, I gotcha.
Well, that was a race win that, other than a little bit of time behind Tyler Langenberg, seemed to be pretty commanding. You after you weren't pole for the first 20 minutes of qualifying, and then you put in a time that no one else was really able to compete with. Did you feel from the very start that you'd be fighting for the win?
I mean, yeah, I knew that Tyler and whoever was behind Tyler, I forget. I knew they were going to be with me. I think it was
Harry.
Great Calgary, yeah. And I knew they were going to stick with me because the draft is pretty good, but I knew that I for sure had the pace. It was just a matter of if I could be consistent. And I remember I was very consistent. Third stint of that race, every lap was within a couple thousandths of each other, so that really helped me.
Wow. Yeah, it looked like from that first stint, the drivers behind you were able to save some fuel, and then because they were able to go that extra lap, that's how Langenberg was able to pull ahead. I noticed that you were doing a lot of fuel saving in that second stint. Was I'm assuming that was the goal, was to stay behind for the entire stint.
Yeah, that and also tire wear. The left front just gets destroyed here. I was down to 30% going into the last pit stop, and I think it was down to 18 at the end of the race. But for sure, saving fuel. I wanted to get that lap back. I definitely wanted to pit on the same lap, not to risk getting any traffic. Uh, the lap before or after I pitted. And yeah, for sure, it helped me. I was kind of worried going into the race that the fuel window would be very close at the end of the race, but it turned out to be a lot bigger than I was expecting.
Yeah, I think fuel didn't end up playing, I think, too much of a role as much as it did in a couple of the races we've had earlier this season. But yeah, after Langenberg unfortunately wasn't able to race anymore. I mean, it was a pretty much clear run run to the end. Obviously, Brad McCombs had some pace at the end, but a 15-second gap is a pretty impressive finish in a really competitive GTD Pro field. Next week we have Spa. Is that a track that you think that you'll continue doing well at?
Yeah, I definitely have a lot of experience there. Not much in the GT3, but I've raced a lot on the LMP1. But I know track limits. It's kind of tough there. I mean, you're definitely gonna have to pay attention to that, driving to not go over the limit. But yeah, I'll do some practice this week and get suited for that.
Yeah, I think that we can expect you to be one of the competitors for sure after these last couple weeks. So, good luck with next week, and hope you do it well at Spa as well.
Yep, thank you guys.
Yeah, good night. All right, man. Try bringing back Dan Ray Allen, and hopefully, we can get him in the booth here. Daniel, you getting me in the booth now? Daniel, you hearing me here? Oh, that's a bummer. Okay, so couldn't get an interview from Dan Ray Allen. Something's up with his mic, I assume. But that was a really great race. Awesome to hear from those competitors, Tom. All right, so up next week we have Spa, which is going to be a night today race. Should be a lot of interesting early lap or early race. Some dark race competitiveness, and hopefully we have as good of a race as we've had for this entire season. 5 weeks in, it's been great racing. I can only see more happening.
Yeah, I'm really excited for that too. I was muted earlier. That's a slight mistake there, but yeah, Spa coming up, and it's a track that I love to drive, and it should be fun to watch there too. So, any last words for the audience?
No, I just I hope the races stay as great as they've been. It's been really fun this year so far, and I'm glad that the league is going so well.
Yeah, all right. Well, we'll see everybody next week.